Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live update on Hurricane Milton, which is likely now a Category 5 hurricane. We don't officially have word yet from the National Hurricane Center, but we will within the next 35 to 40 minutes. Right now, Hurricane Milton looks like an absolute beast. It has intensified again over the last 12 hours. It underwent eye wall replacement over the last 12 to 18 hours and has now become a very definitive, it looks like, Category 5 hurricane in the southern Gulf of Mexico as it continues to intensify yet again. And so in today's live stream, we're going to break down exactly what is going to be coming towards Florida, the impacts, the latest forecasts, where we think it's going to be making landfall, and we'll also be taking a look at a ton of the live cameras that we have set up, both in Florida with the FL 511 cameras, the traffic cameras in Florida, and also the Radar Omega mesovorts, which we'll be talking more about that here later in the stream. Before we get too far into the stream, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to have live updates tonight. We're going to have another live update tonight. This will be one of 2 live updates, and then we are also going to have live coverage tomorrow here on this channel with tons of storm chasers and live cameras. So make sure you're subscribed down below and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live. All right, let's jump right into what Hurricane Milton looks like right now. It is quite a beast right now here in the Gulf of Mexico. We actually have an eye that has formed yet again. That is the center of this hurricane. The eye actually looks much clearer than what we had yesterday, and the reason why is because the eye has actually grown in size. The eye wall has also grown in size compared to yesterday because of the eye wall replacement. So what you're seeing right here in the center is actually a more definitive eye, and we're going to show you on a few other satellite imageries as well about what it looks like there. But again, this is a really incredible looking hurricane right now. It is more than likely a Category 5 hurricane. This is the infrared imagery, and it even looks crazier in the infrared. I mean, that is a crystal clear eye with this hurricane. And if you look at the size of the eye right now, it's about 14 to 15 miles wide, which is about 5 times, or about, I would say 4 times larger than what we had yesterday when we were alive. And it's also probably in general about 1.5 times larger than we had yesterday morning. So it has grown in size, obviously, and this hurricane in general is also growing in size as it continues to move towards the state of Florida. What you'll see here is an aircraft. That is the next mission that is currently going into Hurricane Milton. This might be the most historic mission that we see out of any of the missions we've seen thus far, depending on what the intensity of Milton is. We haven't had aircraft in Milton in several hours now, and we do think that this has intensified much further than what the current basically the current observations have been, at least in the last few hours. It is currently at a high-end Category 4, maximum sustained winds at 155 miles per hour. The pressure is also down there. Let me get the official pressure from the National Hurricane Center. As of right now, it's at 923 millibars. There is a chance that this is going back down to around 900 millibars, or perhaps even sub 900 again. It's very possible. So we'll have more details within the next 40 minutes as this plane is getting much closer to the hurricane, and it's only about 40 minutes out or so. So we should have that information relatively soon. But once again, this is a very impressive hurricane. It is right back to what it looked like yesterday. If not, it honestly looks even more organized than it did yesterday, with the eye much more symmetrical, and the eye wall also in the same boat. So really an impressive hurricane right now. You'll notice on the bottom of your screen we have 3 different live cameras. We're going to talk more about those as well, and we'll also talk about the forecast in a few minutes. I do want to point out, though, we have 2 different cameras at the bottom of your screen. The first one at the bottom left, that is on I-75. That is going to actually be between Cape Coral and going towards like Port St. Lucie, that area. That is a really busy interstate right now. It is bumper to bumper, that entire interstate, for like 30 plus miles. The bottom of your screen, the one in the middle there, that is I-75 north of Tampa. That has actually been clearing up a little bit, but there is still a lot of traffic. And then bottom right of your screen is Cape Coral, Florida, which is going to be an area that we are going to see significant storm surge tomorrow. Also, we have some Radar Omega mesovorts. If you are a subscriber on the Radar Omega app, you'll be able to check these out. The top link in the description below to download. There are going to be several cameras. They're going to have 10. This is one of them in Venice, Florida. We're going to be able to see the storm surge in real time tomorrow. Siesta Key, Florida, also on here. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't exactly know what is going on here. I'm not sure why there are so many, like, I'm not sure if this is like debris, pickup maybe from like a previous hurricane, but there is a lot of like random stuff here. Like there's even mattresses that you can't see on the far right of your screen. So if anybody knows, let me know in the chat. That's an interesting one. This is Anna Marie Island, just to the southwest of Tampa Bay as well right now. Again, notice the waves are very calm right now. Again, the hurricane's still 500 miles to the southwest of Tampa. We're not really seeing anything here yet, but we are going to see stuff as this hurricane gets closer. That's from Helene? Really? Okay, so what we're seeing here is from Helene, back over in Siesta Key, Florida. I didn't realize Siesta Key got that bad of storm surge. That is all, I guess, from Helene. So all this debris that's here right now, that might honestly not be there tomorrow with the storm surge that's currently forecasted. This part of Florida is expected to see 6 to 10 feet of storm surge tomorrow. So I don't know what they got with Helene, but it was not that high. It was like maybe 3 to 5 feet. So that's kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Back over in Siesta Key, also just west of St. Petersburg, Florida. This is another live cam that we'll have tomorrow, again on the Radar Omega app. And then the last one that's currently up, again, they're gonna have 10. This is back up in Palm Harbor, Florida, which again, calm for now, but it is gonna look a lot different as we go into tomorrow. So again, here's a more wide shot view here of the hurricane. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some of the forecast graphics, give you an idea of the latest information, because some things have changed over the last 24 hours. This is an evolution here over the last, let me give the exact time. This is over the last 5 hours. So this is a 5-hour loop here in the Gulf of Mexico. Notice how that eye wall replacement is it's complete, and that eye is very definitive again. At the 5 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, I do expect them to make this again a Category 5 hurricane. It is a Category 4. It's at the highest level that it can be. It's basically edging on the side of being a Category 5 hurricane. Here's another view as well in the infrared imagery. Again, very clear-cut eye right now in the center of this. Again, pretty standard for a Category 4 or 5 hurricane. For the record, if you didn't watch our video or live stream yesterday or even today, we've talked about how this is officially the second strongest hurricane on record in the Gulf of Mexico, and that dates back from 2005, with our strongest one being Hurricane Rita, which dropped down to a pressure of 895 millibars. Milton was down to 897 millibars yesterday. With that said, we could see it being challenged today, where the particular instance that we're in right now, the pressure could actually be very low. It might even be as low as what it was yesterday, near 897 millibars. Again, we'll have more information within the next half an hour on what it actually looks like in terms of intensity once the hurricane hunters are inside of the hurricane. But 897 millibars, that is a very, very strong hurricane. Aside from that, Alan, Camille, and as well as Katrina were all in the top 5 for Gulf of Mexico pressure in terms of hurricanes. So again, just to give you an idea of how historic this hurricane really is in the Gulf of Mexico. All right, we've had some changes to the forecast. Some good news, some bad news. There's basically a best case scenario and a worst case scenario right now for Hurricane Milton. So let's jump into the hurricane models first. This is the HAFS-B model. This is one we've been using the entire time when we're forecasting, because I think it is very accurate to what we are going to be seeing upon landfall tomorrow in the state of Florida. So again, notice throughout the afternoon, it continues to intensify. I think the pressure is honestly too high for what it's showing here. I think the hurricane is stronger than 929 millibars right now, but nonetheless, still shows the hurricane north of the Yucatan. Pretty strong and intense hurricane, very powerful. As we go into Wednesday morning, this is expected to become a larger hurricane, which means that the wind field is actually going to broaden out quite a bit. It's going to become from a small, it's going to go from a small compact hurricane to a large intense hurricane as it moves towards the state of Florida. With that said, it will weaken a little bit as we go into Wednesday morning and into the early afternoon hours. So there will be a weakening trend due to vertical wind shear that is going to be right just to the west of Florida. So that's going to allow this to weaken, but it's also going to grow the wind field substantially, meaning that hurricane force and tropical storm force winds will be possible nearly across the entire state of Florida. But look at that hurricane force wind field. It is going to be way larger as that approaches Tampa by tomorrow evening. And then eventually, as this makes landfall around 10 to 11 o'clock tomorrow night, the impacts are going to be substantial in the Tampa Bay area. Now, one of the biggest things that we are going to be talking about over the next half an hour as well is going to be where this makes landfall. It is a major difference between it making landfall in Tampa Bay, making landfall north of Tampa Bay, or making landfall just south of Tampa Bay, because one of which would be catastrophic if it went into Tampa Bay. It would also be catastrophic if it stays just a hair to the south of Tampa Bay. That is good, basically best case scenario for Tampa, because the storm surge wouldn't be as significant. On the flip side of things, the storm surge would be way worse for those back over near Sarasota, Florida, and then back down here in the Cape Coral area, which is one of the live cams that we just showed you a moment ago. So there's 3 scenarios that are basically going to happen. A further northern track just north of Tampa would be catastrophic, with 10 to 15 plus feet of storm surge ripping into Tampa Bay. And another scenario for Tampa Bay that is still going to be catastrophic but slightly better would be it just going right over Tampa Bay. And then a best case scenario right now is it makes landfall near Sarasota. But with that said, if it makes landfall near Sarasota, it is worst case scenario for Sarasota and and then southwards towards Cape Coral. So those are the three scenarios that we think are going to happen tomorrow. With that also said, almost all of the computer models have now shifted the eye of making of landfall further south. So a lot of the models currently showing a landfall somewhere between Tampa, Florida, and then as far south as the north side there of the Charlotte Harbor. That is the range that models have now gone towards. I'm going to show you the official cone of uncertainty as well in a moment, and we'll show you some more computer models in terms of exactly where other models are also showing placement. But that is an interesting, change. It could shift back to the north, keep that in mind. But with that said, it has shifted just a hair to the south, and again, 5 to 10 miles is a major difference between landfalls. 10 miles north of Tampa or in Tampa is a major difference, I think, in terms of the impacts that we are going to see in the Tampa Bay area, especially out of Hurricane Milton. So here's the latest future radar. This is the GFS model, and again, we're going to go through the impacts, and then we'll go through some of the other stuff. We're going to begin with the rainfall impact, because flooding is becoming a much more major concern for Florida, and you'll see why here in a moment. So as we go into Wednesday, notice we're going to be having moderate to heavy rainfall across a large chunk of central Florida well before landfall with Hurricane Milton. So that's one of the big concerns that we're going to be talking about. A lot of that heavy rainfall will be along and just north of I-4. So if you're anywhere in those areas, be ready for the potential for flooding. As we go later into the afternoon, notice how the eye is approaching Tampa Bay. All that heavy rainfall that's right around the eye is where we're going to be seeing a lot of penetration, with heavy rainfall leading to potentially major flooding starting as early as late Wednesday night near Tampa, and then going into Thursday morning across areas like Orlando and Daytona Beach. And you're going to see that as this moves inland, even by 5 a.m. Thursday, heavy rain is going to continue across the northern half of Florida, especially along and north of I-4, which again would not be a good thing. We're going to be talking about the potential for major flooding that we have seen before, similar to Ian, I think, is what we're going to see in terms of flooding in Florida. And eventually, as we go later into Thursday morning, this continues to dump rain even near Daytona Beach and the East Coast. Eventually, this moves offshore as we go into Thursday afternoon. Notice how the wind is actually going to be coming out of the northeast as we go into Thursday afternoon, and that's going to pose the threat for storm surge across the east coast of Florida, as this does actually re-strengthen into a hurricane as it moves into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's a key note that we need to keep in mind here, is that we are still going to see impacts all day Thursday as well, especially on the east coast of Florida. So this is basically a 2-day event. The biggest event will be obviously tomorrow. Thursday is also going to still be big, as we're going to continue to see rain, high winds, and as well as storm surge, especially on the east coast of Florida. So in terms of rainfall accumulation, this is an estimate, but it is somewhat similar to what we saw with Hurricane Ian only a couple of years ago. So for those that have been here for a couple of years, you might remember Hurricane Ian had dumped 20 to 25 inches of rain across a very large chunk of central Florida, basically all up and down I-4. I'm not saying we're going to see 20 to 25 inches of rain. I don't think we will see that much, at least in a widespread sense of things. I do think an isolated pocket or two of 20 to 22 inches of rain is possible, but I think in nature here, we are going to see a widespread 8 to 14 inches of rain. So that's still a lot. It's not nearly as much as Ian, but it is still a lot. And the reason why is because this hurricane's moving faster, by the way, than Ian. But with that said, this is still going to cause major flooding, because if you've been here in Florida over the last few days, the amount of rain that we've seen just in the last 48 hours has actually saturated the soil and ground a lot. So I think this is going to be a much easier scenario for flooding to occur in central Florida. Now, notice how almost all of that major flooding potential is actually going to be right along and north of I-4. That is because all of that heavy rain is going to be falling on the north side of the eye wall. So that is where all that heavy rain is going to fall and penetrate and eventually create the potential for major flooding across much of central Florida. And again, Tampa, Orlando, and Daytona Beach currently at the highest risk of seeing the potential for flooding. All right, let's go into the wind now. And so we're going to kind of talk about the wind potential. We'll talk about power outages and all that sort of stuff too here. So let's go into the wind impact. We'll begin with the wind gusts as we go into Wednesday night. The only reason why I'm showing you this graphic is because I think it gives at least a good idea of where we're going to see the highest winds. I don't think these numbers are very accurate, so wait for the numbers on our next graphic, because those are more accurate, I think, for what we'll see in terms of maximum wind speeds. But notice this area of brown and yellow. That is where our hurricane force wind field will be by 11 p.m. on Wednesday. So again, tomorrow night, we're going to start to see those hurricane force winds really ramping up in Sarasota and as well as back over in Tampa. That is where we're expecting the potential for, again, power outages to be widespread widespread. Perhaps power could be out for days, if not weeks, and maybe even months in some areas along the west coast of Florida. That hurricane force wind field will move inland, impacting a vast majority of central Florida, including areas like Orlando, just to the west of Palm Bay, and eventually by Thursday morning when, the sun rises, hurricane force winds are also going to be ongoing across a large chunk of eastern Florida. That includes areas like Palm Bay, Daytona Beach, just south of Jacksonville, and also near Gainesville, Florida, and Port St. Lucie, going to be seeing potential for hurricane force winds or even wind gusts. One of the two will definitely happen across those areas. And we'll still be dealing with high winds even into Thursday afternoon. Daytona Beach, look at this. We're still at 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So this is still going to be producing impacts even through Thursday morning and even into the early afternoon before this eventually moves offshore. Storm surge will continue to be a problem through Thursday night. And then by Friday, we are done talking about Milton. Now, this is the latest in terms of where we expect the highest winds to be. You can take a screenshot of this graphic if you want. This graphic, again, made by James Pettis. The link to his Twitter is in the description. This is what we're looking at in terms of the highest winds, though. So right now, the worst of the wind is going to be located back over in Tampa Bay and surrounding areas. So between Cape Coral, Tampa Bay, and Spring Hill, 110 plus mile per hour winds are likely across nearly this entire area. That is going to cause widespread power outages. Mobile homes will suffer significant damage. Extremely, like any buildings that are right on the coastline are also going to suffer major damage. So if you're right along the coastline, let's say in Cape Coral, Florida, I would be expecting some more significant damage in areas like that are right on the beach. That is where we're going to see the worst of the wind. And the reason why is because there's nothing blocking the wind from coming inland right along the beach. Like when the wind hits the buildings, it usually will start to be a little bit less intense as it goes further inland. But right on the beach, there's nothing stopping the wind over the ocean. So it's going to be very strong right along the coastline. And that's why we're going to see the potential for winds that could be as high as 110 to 130 miles per hour right on the coastline. Now, in the red is where we're expecting hurricane force wind speeds. That is anywhere from 75 mile per hour winds and greater. That is that's basically an intense severe thunderstorm happening across almost the entire state of Florida. But in addition to that, that's significant. It's going to cause power outages. It's going to also potentially knock some trees down. Power lines are obviously going to fall down as well. Could even see some flying trampolines tomorrow, even though it's not tossing trampolines on tall trees Thursday. It is still going to knock down some trees across there, and as well as potentially send some flying trampolines across areas in central Florida. Orlando, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, and then back just to the southeast of Cape Coral is where that is really going to be felt in terms of hurricane force winds. And then the orange and in the yellow, that is where tropical storm force winds are currently in the forecast. Now, in terms of power outages, this is what we're thinking. So again, expected to see widespread power outages across most of central Florida as we go into tomorrow and as well as through Thursday. So from Tampa back through Orlando, and then back through Daytona Beach, and as well as back through Palm Bay and also near Cape Canaveral, we are expecting the potential for widespread power outages as the winds are going to be very strong, and they're also going to last for a few hours. This is not just a severe storm where it's going to last 10 to 15 minutes at most. This will end up lasting several hours across much of central Florida. So widespread power outages are in the forecast. Make sure if you're anywhere here in central Florida that you are ready for power outages. Have flashlights ready to go. If you have a generator, have that ready to go. Whatever you might have that will help you through this situation, have that ready to go. If you have phones, iPads, iPod touches, maybe on iPod shuffle, any sort of other light sources that you can charge up, it's a good idea to have that ready to go. If you have portable chargers, you should also have those handy because those will also help to keep your phones charged in case you do need them, and that's pretty likely that you'll need them. In addition to that, likelihood of power outages still existing from Jacksonville, Florida, back through parts of even southeastern Florida, back over near West Palm Beach. I would expect at least some scattered to numerous power outages in those areas, and then it should remain much more isolated back over anywhere from southeastern Georgia all the way back through areas like Miami. Now, in terms of the tornado threat, we are expecting a few tornadoes both today and tomorrow. Today's risk is relatively low. Tomorrow, it's more elevated. Majority of any tornadoes tomorrow are going to happen between and south of I-4. So again, that stretch of I-4 is basically perfect when it comes to forecasting this because it's a pretty good dividing line for everything. Just south of Interstate 4, though, is where we're expecting the greatest potential for a few tornadoes, and most of that will be happening tomorrow. The official forecast from the Storm Prediction Center for today, which is tossing trampolines on top Tacos Tuesday, currently has a 2% tornado risk, which does include areas just to the south of Lake Okeechobee, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Naples, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale. So an isolated tornado or two will be possible today. Tomorrow, the threat is more elevated, where we have a 5% tornado risk, including basically anyone along or south of I-4. So Tampa, Orlando, Daytona Beach, Cape Canaveral, Melbourne, Fort Pierce, Okeechobee, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Naples, Key West, Marathon, Miami, and as well as West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, all included in that 5% tornado risk. We also have a 2% tornado risk in effect for those near Palm Coast, and then just off to the north of Tampa near Spring Hill, Florida. And Thursday, which is tossing trampolines on tall trees Thursday, we also have another 2% tornado risk for those along the southeastern part of Florida near the Treasure Coast, near Cape Canaveral and Melbourne, and then back through areas like Miami and as well as Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. Now, another big concern that we're going to be talking about is the potential for storm surge. And storm surge is expected to be the most life-threatening impact out of this hurricane, and it usually is with almost every hurricane. We are expecting the potential for upwards of 10 to 15 feet of storm surge in Tampa Bay. For reference, if we have 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, this is what it would look like. Right along the immediate coastline, 15 feet of storm surge would go to the top of a standard 2-story building. That is substantial. And as well, I mean, for reference as well, this is basically the length of a semi-truck cab that is 20 feet long, going up in direction. So that's obviously very significant. That is very high water, and that is extremely life-threatening. If you are in any of those evacuation zones along the coastline and you've been ordered for mandatory evacuations, you should be evacuating. You need to take those seriously, otherwise you're risking your life, which is, again, just not worth it with something like this. Mother Nature is not going to mess around tomorrow, so make sure if you're anywhere along the immediate coastline, you need to be prepared for the potential for storm surge. In addition to that, we are looking at 6 to 10 feet of storm surge for areas like Charlotte Harbor, Bonita Beach, and Englewood, and then back up near Anclote River and Yankeetown, the current thinking is that we're going to see between 5 to 10 feet of storm surge. Is the hurricane upgraded to a Cat 5? I saw somebody say that in the chat. I don't know if it hasn't officially been upgraded to a Cat 5 again, but I think it will be here very soon. We'll talk more about it in a minute, though. We just double check. Okay, as of right now, I'm not seeing any official Category 5 posting yet. I think it's a Category 5 hurricane right now. We just haven't had any updates, so we'll get to that in a few minutes whenever the update comes out. The next update from the National Hurricane Center is within the next 30 minutes, so we should have something soon. All right, as I was saying, the storm surge also on the east coast of Florida is also going to be significant. It's significant enough, at least for those along the immediate coastline. From the South Sante River back through Sebastian Inlet, that is anywhere from 1 to 5 feet of storm surge will be a possibility. Greatest storm surge, though, will be from Port Canaveral all the way back through the Altamaha Sound. I do know that back over in Port Canaveral, that I think a Disney cruise actually canceled one of their cruises. So the storm surge is obviously going to be significant enough Thursday and even into Friday for cruises to either be delayed, postponed, or canceled. Again, this is a reference graphic for storm surge, so if you're in any of those places that we've been talking about for storm surge, this is again the storm surge compared to a standard 2-story building. So if you're expecting anything over even 3 feet of storm surge, it is going to be life-threatening, and even in some cases 3 feet of storm surge can be life-threatening. So make sure if you're in any of those evacuation zones and you have a mandatory evacuation order, you need to be taking those very seriously. Also do want to point out we do have a little area of development off the east coast of Florida. We could see another named tropical system here over the next 24 hours, but it's a low chance, 20% chance, so just wanted to throw that out there for those that are over in those areas. Here's the official rainfall graphic from the Weather Prediction Center. We'll dive more into this in a second. Just gotta fix the camera. It is buffering. One moment. There we go. All right, so I was talking about the Weather Prediction Center. This is their latest forecast in terms of rainfall. Anywhere in the orange and red is where we're expecting the most significant rain. That is anywhere near Orlando, Tampa Bay, back through Daytona Beach. That entire corridor, again, along I-4, we are expecting between 8 to 14 inches of rainfall. Isolated locations could also pick up as much as 16, 18, and even 20 inches of rainfall. So if you're in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding, you should also be evacuating. Again, you don't have to go super far. Just get to somewhere that's more elevated elevated, especially for tomorrow. And again, today is really the last day to evacuate. You should not be evacuating last second tomorrow at 8 p.m. at night. You should be evacuating today. The latest you should be evacuating, if you do plan on evacuating, would be sometime, tomorrow, sometime like tomorrow morning. That'd be like the latest time, but I would be evacuating today. If you can't tell, bottom right of your screen, that is on I-75. Again, that is back over just to the east of Cape Coral, Florida. It is bumper to bumper traffic and the cars are barely moving. So just throwing it out there. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, like if you're trying to evacuate, now's the time to do so. I mean, it's bumper to bumper on I-4 right now, or I-75, excuse me. It's insane. We'll show you more cameras also in a moment, but it is pretty crazy. Also, we officially have a high risk for excessive rainfall. That does include areas like Orlando and Tampa Bay. That is for tomorrow. And there's also a moderate risk for flash flooding, and you'll see that at the bottom right of your screen for Thursday, and that's back over near Daytona Beach. But the high risk of excessive rainfall, for reference, is where catastrophic flooding is going to be a possibility. This is a very rare situation. We do not get high risks for excessive rainfall very often. The last time we had one, if you remember, was the Appalachian Mountains with Hurricane Helene only a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying we're going to see the exact impacts that they saw, because that's a mountainous region. This is a flat area. With that said, flooding is still expected to be significant. Turn around, don't drown if you are on the roadways. It is a very crucial thing that you are paying very close attention to whatever you're doing on the roadways if you are on them anytime Thursday or even Friday, because we are going to have a potential again for catastrophic flooding in that pink area, and even potentially in the red shaded area, which is that moderate risk for excessive rainfall. We could also see the potential for some catastrophic flooding. So again, make sure that you are prepared in those areas for all of these various threats. Okay. Hurricane hunters are getting awfully close right now to potentially a historic fly-through into Hurricane Milton. This is where their aircraft is located right now, and you can track this also on the Radar Omega app. So if you want to download that, that's the top link in the description below. That's the weather app we'll be using throughout most of the live stream. So if you need a weather app to stay ahead of Hurricane Milton and have access to all these crazy things that are happening, like the satellite imagery and also the Radar Omega mesovorts, you can become a subscriber on the app and you'll get access to all that data. It is very helpful, especially if you're trying to look at hurricanes. If you're a weather nerd like me, it's definitely something that I would definitely recommend. But within the next 20 to 30 minutes, this Hurricane Hunter aircraft is going to be flying right into Hurricane Milton, and we should have some new data, and we might find something very historical about this hurricane that we did not know about, yesterday. Because again, yesterday was a 897 millibars of pressure. We could see that even lower right now. We don't know for sure, but this hurricane honestly looks really impressive. Like, this looks close to what it looked like yesterday, if not even more definitive. It's very symmetrical, which is not really a good thing. And again, for the record, if you did not tune in yesterday or didn't hear about it, this is already officially the second strongest Gulf of Mexico hurricane on record. That could be passed today, though, if the pressure is able to drop far enough to what Rita was in 2005. So we are going to have some new data within the next, again, 20 to 30 minutes, and possibly even sooner, about Hurricane Milton. And the next National Hurricane Center advisory will be coming out in the next 25 minutes. But right now, wind gusts, if you're wondering about the current statistics of Hurricane Milton, this is from several hours ago, so we don't have any new data. That's why there's a plane flying into this. If you're wondering about a few hours ago, Hurricane Milton was at maximum sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Wind gusts were at 185 miles per hour. It's moving east-northeast at about 8 miles per hour, and it's also at a pressure of 923 millibars. The reason why it weakened last night was because of eye wall replacement. It is fully done now, and that's why this is intensifying yet again. If we go back over to here as well, you'll see that this is the last 5 hours. You'll see that there wasn't much of an eye 5 hours ago, and now that eye has really cleared out, and it's become a very symmetrical hurricane, which is going to probably lead to this being, again, a Category 5 hurricane very, very soon. So, should have that new information here very shortly. Also, apparently Hurricane Leslie is back to a hurricane. Back over in the eastern Atlantic Ocean. It is officially a hurricane yet again. It's this thing right here, Hurricane Leslie. So that's not going towards the United States, but we just got that new information. It was a tropical storm. Now it's a hurricane. So again, we'll have new information here in the next few minutes on Hurricane Milton. I also need to show you guys this. This is crazy. Look at the satellite imagery on this. This is just eye-dropping. I'm going to show you a little loop here. This is a larger eye and a more cleared out eye than yesterday. That's what it looks like. It's just crazy. It's absolutely insane what we're seeing with Hurricane Milton. It's jaw-dropping to say the least. It is. It really is. It's jaw-dropping to say the least. Can't really put it any other way. This is also a 3D view. Shows that eye more clearly. It's pretty much textbook. It's pretty much a textbook Cat 5. Back on this. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Thank you to Bridget, Susan, and Meg for becoming members. Thank you, Durham, for the $20 super chat. Thank you, Glitter, also for the super chat. Durham, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I mean, like, this is not something that's impossible to happen. I don't think there's any science behind storms really jumping across, like, Mexico and then going into the Atlantic Ocean like this. Like, it's really rare to begin with, but it has happened before. This hurricane, though, has exploded. I mean, this is the most intense hurricane that we've seen do this. So, but I do think this will become, if the hurricanes and whatnot, if they stay as common as they've been, I mean, this will become more common over time. And you N12 also for the super chat. Yes, the newest spaghetti models have been showing that this hurricane is actually going to be potentially making landfall a little bit further south. We just touched on that, but I will touch back on that here in a moment. Recon is about to fly into this hurricane, guys. It's going to be very interesting over the next 20 to 30 minutes. Again, Hurricane Hunter aircraft is very quickly approaching right now into the hurricane. That's, again, the aircraft. We'll have another position update in 3 minutes or so. So we'll see where it's at. But it's about to be inside of the outer bands here of Hurricane Milton. And we're going to possibly get some very historical data here soon. Thank you, Shady and Brian, for becoming members. Thank you, Kale, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Robert, also for the $10 super chat. I think the biggest thing when it comes to weakening with Hurricane Milton is the storm surge across the east coast, or sorry, the eastern tier here of the Gulf of Mexico. That's the biggest reason why this is going to weaken. So it's not really for any other reason. I mean, there's not many other reasons why this would be weakening. I mean, you could contribute some dry air to it, but wind shear is ultimately what's going to end up weakening this hurricane as it gets closer to landfall. This is the latest track, by the way. I forgot to touch on this. This is the latest cone of uncertainty and track from the National Hurricane Center. So again, it is forecasted to be a Cat 4 or Cat 5 over the next 24 hours. Eventually, by tomorrow afternoon, it is expected to, or tomorrow evening, I should say, it should be weakening back down to a Category 3 hurricane with maximum sustained winds at 125 miles per hour, and then it'll make landfall sometime around midnight or so tomorrow night. And then after that, it'll still be a Category 2 hurricane, even in Central Florida. So wherever this ends up being in Central Florida, let's say it's just south of Orlando, this is going to be a Category 2 hurricane. So that's pretty crazy. And it'll be a Category 1 even into the Atlantic Ocean, and then this will become extra tropical as we go into Friday. But yeah, I mean, again, the cone of uncertainty has been shrinking down. The eye could make landfall anywhere between Cape Coral and just north of Spring Hill, Florida. With that said, a lot of the model guidance has shifted. A lot of models were taking the hurricane yesterday into this area. Now, if we compare that to today, a lot of the models have it going more into the south side of Tampa. So there's been a bit of a shift. It's about a 30-mile shift, and any shift is going to be, you know, a major difference here with Hurricane Milton. All right. Thank you all. So Glitter, Ronnie for the gifted member and also becoming a member. Thank you also Perfectly for the super chat. And also thank you, Hillary, for the super chat. All right, I got to do something real quick. Again, we're going to have another update from the National Hurricane Center very shortly. It's probably going to be a big update, so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned. We're probably going to get some new information about this being a Cat 5 at the bare minimum. Thank you, Roses, also for becoming, or for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. By the way, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We are going to be on, we're on pace right now. If we get enough subscribers over the next few days, we are on pace for 500,000 subscribers. We're 34,000 away. If everybody subscribes right now, we might get close to it today. Go back to here for now. Thank you, Matt, also for the super chat. I'll get to questions, by the way, in a moment. I'm just quickly doing some technical stuff. Give me one moment. Por favor. Appreciate the patience. Yeah, I know. We yesterday I think it was yesterday, we gained a lot of subscribers. Is my mic too low? I think I have to change my mic settings. I turned it up a little bit. Should be better. All right, we'll have new data from we'll have a new position from the Hurricane Hunters here in a moment on the map. Again, Hurricane Hunter right here at the top of your screen. We'll have a new position update from them here in just a moment. We'll get that traffic cam going again here in just a moment. 1 second. And some. I don't know what is going on. I'm trying to fix stuff on our overlay and it's not working. Love technical issues. All right, we'll fix it in a second. Next National Hurricane Center update, again, within the next 15 minutes. So we'll have that in a moment. Alright, this is getting way too complicated. I don't know what is going on. Alright, sorry guys. Give me 1 second. I'm almost done. Thank you also, Lem, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Alright, we got a new position update on the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. Dude, what's going on? Alright, there we go. Alright, that's good enough for now. Alright, let's go over to the latest position update on the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. And so again, it's now flying into the northwest side of the eye wall. So that's the latest position update. So in about 10 minutes, we should have our first measurement of like maximum sustained winds out of this hurricane. We should have that here in just a moment. So right now on the northwest side of the eye wall. So it'll be flying into the eye here probably within the next 10 minutes. Let me take off the cone of uncertainty. This National Hurricane Center update is going to be like almost perfect for timing because we're going to have that new wind data from them and also the pressure probably in the next 10 minutes. So when that update comes out, we'll have new information. Should be pretty interesting. Everything's going to kind of happen at once. Thank you, Black, for the $5 super chat. Port St. Lucie should be mostly tropical storm force winds tomorrow. And also into Thursday morning. Storm surge not really expected down there. Thank you also, Adam, for the super chat. Thank you to Carrie for the $50 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Carrie. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think me and Connor might be going golfing at some point in the next like 7 days. He's going to be in Florida for a little bit, so we might actually end up golfing. It is a possibility. We will see what happens, but it does appear like it is a possibility. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to fix stuff. Everything broke on my stream graphics earlier. We didn't go live as soon as I wanted to today because everything broke on my stream graphics and nothing is correct right now. It's kind of frustrating, so sorry, guys. I'm just about done, and then we'll talk about stuff. Okay, there we go. All right, everything is now fixed. All right, let me get to chat now. All right, thank you also, Caleb, for the super chat, or the gifted member. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll be answering questions until we get that National Arcane Center update, which will be out in like 10 minutes. This is actually from the CIRA. This is a view on the high-res resolution from NOAA 21. So that's a look at the eye. That is pretty clear-cut right there. Pretty crazy stuff. This is, I would be shocked if this isn't a category 5 right now, and I also would be shocked if it's not around 900 millibars. Like, I think it's dropped substantially. It's at 923 as of a few hours ago. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's really down there right now. In terms of pressure. How does Milton compare to Katrina? It's an interesting comparison. I mean, you can make a comparison to both Milton and Katrina in a few ways, and the reason why is because Katrina was basically, was a Cat 5, and then, Milton being a Cat 5, and they're both going to be weakening upon landfall, which both, Milton is going to, and then Katrina did. But in terms of storm surge, I think both of them are going to be the biggest story with both of them will be the potential for storm surge, like Katrina was, and I think this one's going to be kind of the same way. I would honestly, one of the most interesting things that I learned today, which I did not know, Hurricane Michael made landfall and was also a retired hurricane. Back, several years ago, Hurricane Michael, you guys will more than likely remember. Hurricane Michael was again, major hurricane. And Hurricane Michael made landfall as a Cat 5 over in the Florida, panhandle. So back over up there, just near the Destin area, right? And it made landfall on October 10th. Now, the name, that name got retired. Hurricane Michael is no longer a name that can be used for the Atlantic tropics. And Hurricane Milton is actually what replaced that name. So that's interesting to begin with. But the other thing on top of that is that Hurricane Milton is forecast to make landfall on October 9th. Or it could make landfall on October 10th, potentially just after midnight tomorrow, and both of them would make landfall on the same exact day, and I would almost anticipate that Milton will 100% be retired, especially with how intense it's been. So, that is kind of crazy, and this is the first time Milton has ever been used. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I just hit my mic, my bad. Thank you, Ryan, for the $10 super chat, appreciate that. Thank you also, Caitlin, for the super chat. I live in Volusia. We don't normally flood, but it could still be possible. I live 2 miles from St. John's River. Where's Volusia? Volusia, Florida. Near Lake George. I think there will be some rise of water even into this particular part of the St. John's River, but I think the most major part of it will be up in here near Jacksonville. I would expect the worst of the impacts to be a little bit further to your north. So what I'm currently thinking. We'll have another position update on the Hurricane Hunters in about 3 minutes, so we're just waiting on that. Thank you, customer service, for the $20 super chat. INEZ. Let me look. I've never even heard of this hurricane, I'm not gonna lie. That hurricane is really weird. That is a really weird hurricane track. I mean, first off, that hurricane was moving west. So, they're not similar, if that's what you're asking. Because, again, the biggest thing when it comes to, direction of a hurricane and, how it moves is usually the upper level patterns. So it could be a trough, it could be a ridge, it could be the jet stream, whatever it is. Those are usually what ends up making the direction of whatever the hurricane is. So in this case, we have a trough that is going to be dipping down into the southeast United States, and this hurricane's going to kind of get pulled up by that a little bit. And as that trough moves to the east on Thursday, the hurricane's actually going to move out to the east with it. So this is being steered mostly by that trough. Thank you, Kurt, for the super chat. Thank you also, Ryan, for the super chat. What do you think about Sarasota? I think Sarasota will probably be the worst impacted by this hurricane. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Sarasota, when it comes to storm surge, I think that's going to be where the peak is for storm surge. So what makes it retire? If we have a historical hurricane like Helene, I think Helene will be retired. But when we have a historical hurricane like Helene, or what Milton will more than likely be, like, those get retired. Those names will be retired. Michael got retired, I have no doubt that Milton will be retired. And we haven't even had a landfall in Florida yet. Like, that's how confident I am on on that happening. So thank you, Infield, for the super chat. I do think Daytona Beach, that area of Florida, is going to have some pretty major flooding. Disney announced it's closing. Did they? All right, we'll have to talk about that if they did. That's a pretty big news. A lot of people are asking about that, so let me look. See if we actually have information on that. All right, Disney is officially closing as of an hour ago. So they will be closing starting at 1 p.m. tomorrow. They'll be closing tomorrow at 1 p.m. Magic Kingdom and Epcot and Disney Springs will close at 2 p.m. And then it's likely that October 10th, the parks will remain closed. So if you're wondering about Disney closures, again, on October 9th, the theme parks and Disney Springs will be closed in phases beginning at 1 p.m. tomorrow. That is for Disney's Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom will close at 1 p.m. I'm not sure what you're going to do in 4 hours there, to be honest, but, I mean, go for it, I guess, if you're there. Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Disney Springs will close at 2 p.m. tomorrow. And then, in addition to that, it is likely that theme parks will be remaining closed on Thursday, October 10th. This includes the cancellation of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at Magic Kingdom on October 10th. Fun fact, I did that party this year, and we got rained out. So, good times. Golf will be closed on Wednesday, and Blizzard Beach will remain closed for refurbishment as well. All right, breaking news. Hurricane Milton is officially a Category 5 hurricane again. It is increased substantially in terms of intensity, but it is officially a Category 5 hurricane again. Maximum sustained winds at 167 miles per hour. And we're posting it on Twitter and Facebook if you want to retweet it. But this is officially a Category 5 hurricane yet again. That means I have to change this graphic. So give me 1 second. We're back to a Category 5 hurricane. Milton is officially a Category 5 hurricane in the southern Gulf of Mexico with maximum sustained winds of 167 miles per hour. We're going to get some pressure. Again, the hurricane hunters are on the northwest side of the eye wall right now. We'll have more details on speed and stuff in a second. They have not gathered, I don't think, any data yet, but the official update is that this is back to again, major hurricane, obviously. The pressure is down to 918 millibars. It might be lower than that. I think that's an estimate. I don't think they have official data on pressure yet, but they should in a few minutes. The maximum sustained wind speeds, though, at 165 miles per hour. And again, the wind speed currently the wind speed's at 165. Pressure's at 918. I don't think either of those numbers yet are completely accurate. I think they might be estimates. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm going to read the discussion and see. The Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunters found that Milton's central pressure has fallen to 923 millibars in the last pass-through that it made a few hours ago. So a few hours ago, that's the last pass-through they had. The satellite presentation has improved since that time with a thick ring of cold cloud tops surrounding a 10-mile wide eye. This pattern yielded a 140 knot from TAFB with several of the objective satellite estimates between 140 and 145 knots. So again, this is not officially measured data from the aircraft that is flying through the hurricane. Once this aircraft flies through, which it is right now, we will have a lot more details on intensity. I think it might be higher than that, honestly. So pressure will probably be lower. Wind speeds might be the same, but no matter what, this is obviously a Category 5. Let's see. Milton is expected to maintain major hurricane strength while it moves across the Gulf of Mexico and approaches the west coast of Florida. Stronger vertical shear is expected to increase in about 24 hours, but even if this causes some weakening, it will likely not be enough to keep Milton from being an extremely dangerous hurricane when it reaches ashore. Additionally, the first stages of extratropical transition may be just underway as Milton is reaching the coast, which could impart some baroclinic energy, I learned about that last year, and slow the rate of weakening. The National Hurricane Center intensity forecast is close to the top end of the model envelope, which includes the GFS and European models, since these models should have a better handle on potential positive trough interaction. So extratropical basically means that this thing is going to remain with pretty strong intensity through Florida, which it's currently forecasted to be a Cat 2, even into Orlando, which is not something you see very often. Milton's wind field is expected to expand, means grow, as it approaches Florida. In fact, the official forecast shows the hurricane and tropical storm force winds roughly doubling in size by the time it makes landfall compared to now. In addition, the stronger than normal winds could occur on the northwest backside of the storm, since Milton will be interacting with a frontal boundary and beginning extratropical transition. Damaging winds, life-threatening storm surge, and heavy rainfall will extend well outside of the forecast cone. This is a very serious situation, and residents in Florida should closely follow orders from the local emergency management officials. Evacuations and other preparations should be completed no later than today. Milton has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for western central Florida. That's the latest in terms of the discussion. There's also other stuff we need to talk about, which is intensity. Obviously, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft is flying through as we speak. We don't have that data quite yet. And we also have to talk about the new cone of uncertainty. So we're going to have some other stuff to talk about. But if you're just tuning in, this is officially a Category 5 hurricane for the second time. And the cone has shifted massively to the south. Wow, that's a big shift. So, first off, let me take off 3D. So, first off, the cone has actually shifted way to the south. This is where they had the forecasted eye kind of going along. The cone has actually shifted well to the east and kind of south. So that's one of the changes to the cone. The center line has not updated yet, so just keep that in mind. But now they are thinking that the landfall will be between Spring Hill, Florida and Cape Coral, Florida. So there is a noticeable shift to the south here on the most recent cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. We'll have intensity plotted here in a second once it updates. Let me see. We have storm surge update probably coming in. Storm surge has increased as well. The forecast for storm surge has just increased. So the increase that we are going to see here on this latest update from the National Hurricane Center is 10 to 15 feet, still currently the forecasted storm surge for Tampa Bay through Englewood, Florida. And then the 8 to 12 feet of storm surges are increased. So Charlotte Harbor now expecting a peak storm surge between 8 to 12 feet. That is a 2-foot increase over before. It was 6 to 10 feet before. 5 to 10 feet is still the forecast for the Enclote River back through Chassa, Howa, Itzka, and then back over further north, lower storm surge in the Big Bend. Storm surge forecast remains the same in the Florida Keys, and then south of Bonita Beach is still about the same. Actually, Bonita Beach and Chocolosky are 5 to 8 feet, which is 1 foot higher than before. East coast of Florida, still anywhere from 1 to 5 feet of storm surge. So again, 8 to 12 feet is now the increased storm surge forecast. That is 2 feet higher than before for the Charlotte Harbor area, which includes Cape Coral, which I know many of you are probably watching from that area. We also have the updated graphic here for the intensity. It's expected to stay as a Category 5 hurricane through tonight. Again, we don't have official data from the Hurricane Hunters. This could be more intense Cat 5 right now than what is currently depicted, but this is the latest data that they've gone ahead and put out there. So 918 millibars of minimum pressure, 165 mile per hour maximum sustained winds. It is officially a Category 5 again. It is going to be a Category 4 even through tomorrow afternoon, so this will still be a high-end Category 4 even by tomorrow afternoon. They currently have this making landfall as a high-end Category 3 hurricane once it reaches Florida. It could still be a low-end Category 4 hurricane, though, even upon landfall in the state of Florida. Again, this is expected to be one of the most destructive hurricanes that we've seen in Florida in quite some time, especially for west central Florida. Can't stress it enough, guys. If you are in an evacuation zone, this is not a hurricane that you want to be messing around with. All right, if you are in an evacuation order, you should be taking that seriously. At this point, the safe areas away from hurricane impacts would be anywhere outside of these white lines. So further north or further south is the best if you're trying to get away from the wind, the storm surge, and the flooding potential out of Hurricane Milton. So Miami's a safer area. Jacksonville and northbound is safer. Tallahassee safe. You know, you don't have to evacuate 100 miles to the north or south for this hurricane, but if you're right along the coastline, you at least need to go inland a little bit because you're going to get hammered with storm surge tomorrow, depending on where you are. But you know, I showed this a few minutes ago, but this is one of the Radar Omega mesovorts. If you are a subscriber on inside the app, you can see these cameras. They have a ton of them on the app right now. This is one of those cameras. And this is what you're seeing here is a lot of debris. And you're probably wondering, what is this from? This is from the storm surge in Venice. This is Siesta Key, Florida. That is the debris that is left over from Hurricane Helene that just happened not even 2 weeks ago. So what you're seeing there is from storm surge that happened about 2 weeks ago. Wasn't even as significant as what this particular hurricane is forecasted to be. That is going to be all over the place tomorrow. So, you know, that's kind of crazy. And by the way, if you want to download the Radar Omega app, that's what we're using right now. You can download it with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. But yeah, that's pretty bonkers. All right, we also have a couple more updates. We will have a new rainfall outlook, I think, here pretty soon. So that should be coming in here soon. This is the new cone of uncertainty. So again, pretty much the entire state, or at least the entire central part of Florida, is under hurricane warnings. So all of the red that you see there, those are hurricane warnings that are in effect across basically all of central Florida. Then the blue is tropical storm warnings that are in effect. That includes areas like Miami, Jacksonville, and then back over around the Big Bend of Florida, and then tropical storm watches remain in effect back over into parts of South Carolina and as well as into Georgia. So those are the latest watches and warnings as of now. You'll notice the wind field, again, it's not really large right now. This is going to double in size tomorrow, so tropical storm force winds will be way larger. It's going to be, this is not going to be as large as what we had with Hurricane Helene, but it's going to be challenging, I would say, for, you know, the wind field. I think the wind field will be close to as large as what it was before. All right, hurricane hunters are flying through right now, the hurricane. And they are starting to get some data. We are going to go ahead and check out the graph here. The hurricane hunters are inside of the eye right now as we speak. They are inside of the eye of Hurricane Milton. This is the 3D view of it. I'm going to take off the cone of uncertainty because we just talked about it. But notice we'll shift to the south. Landfall more likely than not going to be somewhere around Sarasota, Florida. Now here's the one good thing I will say about this particular landfall if you're in Tampa. I'm not saying about anywhere else, but for Tampa. The latest cone of uncertainty, I'm going to put it back on here. The latest cone of uncertainty has shifted south compared to before. So if we have a landfall right here just south of Tampa, that means the storm surge would still exist, but it would not be as catastrophic if the hurricane ends up going just to the south of Tampa. Here's the thing, we could still see it shift north tomorrow or even tonight in terms of the track with models and stuff like that, so keep that in mind. If that does happen, it will be catastrophic for Tampa Bay, but storm surge, in terms of that, will probably be lower if this ends up making landfall just south of Tampa. What does that mean, though, if it makes landfall south of Tampa for others? Well, that means that the storm surge would be even more catastrophic for areas like Cape Coral and the Charlotte Harbor, and then even back over between Sarasota and Englewood. These would be the hardest hit areas, would be right in Sarasota and Englewood. All that water is just going to penetrate right into the coastline, which is not a good thing. So that's why there are a ton of cameras on Radar Omega all along the coastline. We're going to be able to see all of this on our landfall stream tomorrow. So again, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We'll be live tomorrow with landfall coverage with all these cameras. There's a ton of them right on the coastline or right near the coastline. I mean, again, it's going to be unbelievable what we're going to see tomorrow here in Florida. Potentially the worst hurricane that we've ever seen hit Florida. It's very possible when it comes to at least the coastal impacts. The coastal impacts are really the biggest thing out of this hurricane. And then power outage is obviously going to be a big deal. All right, let's check in on the hurricane hunters here. I want to try to get that data. And they also have another plane now flying into, or en route here for Milton. So there's actually another plane en route. But here is the hurricane hunters. Again, you can see the hurricane hunter aircraft right in the center of the eye right now. Thank you, Vince, by the way, for the $10 super chat. east side of Florida is really not going to get much rain unless you're near or just north of I-4, even if it makes landfall like further south. It would not shift that far south because the most of the rain that we're going to see that falls out of Hurricane Milton will be on the north side of the hurricane. So unless you're on the north side of the hurricane, we're not really going to see a whole lot of, you know, rain. Whoa. Is that 175 miles per hour? Am I reading this right? Or we're on the wrong thing. Never mind. That's flight level. The maximum wind that they've just estimated near the eye, that's on the northwest side, 140 knots. They're not on the southeast side. The southeast side will probably have the stronger winds, so we should have that data here soon. Pressure data is coming in very sporadically, so we don't really have any clear measurement on pressure yet. And the Hurricane Hunter aircraft is in the dead center right now of Hurricane Milton, and we'll have more data in 4 minutes or so. So we'll see if this is even more intense than the current estimate from the National Hurricane Center. Anyway, Alexandra for the super chat. It could. I mean, it could. If you're 10 feet above sea level in Englewood, I don't know where. Let me look up River Road. If we get 12 feet of storm surge, which is now the forecast, I'm guessing this is it. Let me look at this. There is a storm surge inundation map that we can look at too. Let me go back. I'll zoom back out here, and then we'll look at that here in a second. There's a storm surge inundation map. I highly recommend you look at that, to be honest, for, you know, this sort of stuff. It's on the National Hurricane Center website. Is the map broken? All right, well, this is what it looks like for your area. For some reason, it doesn't show locations. It's, like, broken. But you would be technically in the potential for a couple of feet of storm surge in your area. I'm pretty sure it's, like, right here or something, wherever that was. I highly recommend you go to their website. It has very specific details. Basically, this entire harbor, like, all surrounding this harbor near Port Charlotte, we're going to see significant storm surge. Again, 8 to 12 feet is substantial. So, Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, even up into this river here, like, that water's going to be flowing, which is not a good thing. And then also, it could even flow into this area as well. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Why is this such a perfect circle? Rotondo West? Is that like a famous place or something? It looks like the Death Star from Star Wars. I've never seen that before. That is very interesting. Also, we have a very interesting special marine warning right now, just to the northwest of Key West. It looks like a flag. Like, what is going on with this polygon? It's another view of it. Water spout is possible. We could see a fishnado. I've never seen a warning polygon like this. Maybe it's a sign. Thank you, Hammy, for the super chat. Can you tell me how you download Radar Omega? So, I'll try to show you. It's not very hard. If you know where the description is, that's how you do it. So if you're looking at my stream, right? Alright, this is for everybody. If you're looking at my stream, whenever I say description, it's this thing down here. So you'll see the links down here. Everything that we have, it's all linked in the description. So, it's the top link in the description if you want to download it. It's on iOS and Android. Alright, we'll have another update from the National Hurricane Center aircraft in like 2 minutes. Wow. Well, we're going back to this. Look at this. Look at that eye. Wow. It's insane. Thank you, Monkey, for the super chat. The biggest thing for the villages will be power outages. Thank you, Tart, and also Jeffrey, for the generosity. Thank you, Stargazer, for becoming a VIP Velocity member. Appreciate that. If we put on satellite on here, as well. It just looks absolutely insane. It's just stunning. Jaw-dropping, to say the least. Thank you, Max, for the super chat. Power outages, presumably, for Orlando. Yeah, Orlando, the biggest concern is power outages. This is the power outage map, if you missed it. Again, made by James Pettis. You can check him out on Twitter. This is the latest for power outages, which I completely agree with this graphic. I do think we're going to see widespread power outages in the pink, which is all across central and western Florida. And then back over near Jacksonville, north of Miami, likely to see at least some scattered to numerous power outages. Hey, Jeffrey, for upgrading to a moderate velocity member. Traffic looks horrible. It is. It's bad, guys. I'm telling you. Like, traffic is horrendous. This is what happens when people are evacuating in Florida, though. Like, this was happening yesterday, and it's happening today. Like, you would think it might get better, but it's not. More people are evacuating. Some people are doing it very last second as well. So, for the record, if you're looking at the cameras right there at the bottom left of your screen, that's I-75. That is actually going to be just east of Cape Coral. So that's just to the southeast of Cape Coral. That's right down here. So that traffic is all going eastbound, which is crazy. That's a lot. Now, in addition to that, the other camera that you're looking at is back up just north of the Villages on I-75 in this area. So the traffic is horrendous, though, on I-75 going away from Cape Coral. Like, that's actually crazy. All right, we have some data from the National Hurricane Center. Okay, yeah, that's big. All right, let's talk about this. We got the Hurricane Hunter aircraft data just came in. Apparently, the pressure is down to like 900 millibars again from this run through. Let me verify here. This is a big update, though. So we don't have the data yet on Tropical Tidbits. Radar Omega is actually faster here. First thing, they measured flight level winds of 151 knots. That's like 175 or 180 for wind speeds, if that's happening at the ground level. Pressure, 902 millibars was measured in the center. So this is much stronger than they just put out on the latest update. We're down to about a 900 millibar category 5 hurricane. It is going to challenge again becoming one of the strongest or the strongest hurricane of all time in the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to make that run, I think, in the next couple of hours. That is a big increase over what we just had. 904, 906, 902 is the lowest pressure, though. 902, 903. And then wind speeds on top of that, again, possibly as high as 175, 180, but that's, again, flight level. We're gonna wait. I'm waiting for that graph to come out, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. So this could be as strong as what it was yesterday, at the same exact time, by the way. Thank you, Lexa, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Thank you, Wanda, for the $10 super chat. I actually got on board of a Hurricane Hunter's plane. I think it was a C-130 or something like that. Very interesting. Tons of equipment everywhere. Yeah, Hurricane Hunter aircrafts, there's a ton of equipment in them. They're pretty gnarly. Thank you, Randy, for becoming a member. Thank you, Easily, for the 5 gifted members. Thank you to Peter for the $5 super chat. He says, you must be tired. That's why I'm drinking some caffeine with tea. Needs to happen. Not sure how much sleep I'll be getting tomorrow. Be live a long time tomorrow. All right, here's the graph. So the peak wind that they just measured was near 160 knots. 160. That would be 185 miles per hour if that translates to the ground level. That would mean that this is a stronger Category 5 hurricane than yesterday if that data verifies. At ground level. That is absurd. So after this eye wall replacement cycle took like 18 hours to happen. Like, wow. Now again, for the record, yesterday. Milton was an 897 millibar Category 5 hurricane. It could potentially make a run at being the most intense hurricane we've ever seen in the Gulf of Mexico and beat Rita today. It's possible. Where it's at right now, I wouldn't be surprised if it makes a run at that. It's within like 10 millibars, so we'll get another fly through in the next 20 minutes for more data, and the pressure could be dropping or increasing. We don't yet know because this is their first fly through. So after they fly a little bit further southeast, they're going to do like one of these like little zigzags, and they're going to go back through the eye, something like that. And so we're going to get more data within the next like 20 minutes and see what it looks like. But yeah, this is kind of crazy. Thank you, Lucas, for the $10 super chat. You see the black dot fly across the eye. Was that the plane or a UFO on the satellite image? What are you talking about? Excuse me? Oh, are you talking about this? Talking about that like little pixel that popped up? Are you talking about that? Yeah, that's a UFO, guys. Yep. It's the space lasers. They're coming in. Unfortunate. You got me for the $10 super chat. There are a lot of like there's a ton of power trucks coming into Florida right now. There's a ton. Like a ton right now in I-75. Category 6 UFOs, absolutely. Yeah, we got Category 6 UFOs coming in. Who would have thought? Flight level winds were officially measured at 159 knots. Again, that is comparable to the fourth most intense hurricane of all time, if that's true, at 185 miles per hour. So we'll see what the official wording is. And again, the National Hurricane Center could come out with a special advisory here soon talking about it. So we'll have to wait and see. As a friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're going to have landfall coverage. We'll be live here probably for the next several hours. So make sure you're subscribed down below. Just want to point out, we are now 32,000 subscribers from 500,000. If every one of you that's here right now subscribes, it's possible that we hit 500,000 today. It is a possibility. It would be shocking. It would blow the world, but it is a possibility. Again, if you have any questions as well, feel free to leave those in the chat. We'll be answering questions as we continue to get some more data here from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. Thank you, Austin, for the super chat. The latest pressure reading is 902 millibars. Thank you, Hammy, for the super chat as well. I installed Radar Omega. Gotta say, it's the best radar I've ever used. You can see where Chaser's POV is and warnings and watches. Install it now. Thanks for putting the ad in the chat. Stream is sponsored by Radar Omega today, by the way. You can download it with the top link in the description. But I do agree. It is a great app. Yeah, all these live cameras today inside of the app. Actually, if you look at the right side of your screen, there's a couple people on the beach right now. Don't know if that's the play, but there's a couple people out there on the beach. Actually, there's more than a couple. We got like 5 people right there. Thank you, Tessa, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Landfall right now looks like it'll be around 1 or 2 a.m., which would mean that, again, we talked about the statistic a few minutes ago, but this would be... This is crazy. So Hurricane Michael, a lot of you will remember, Hurricane Michael made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane a few years back, and that name got retired. Milton is the name that replaced Michael. Michael made landfall on October 10th of that year. Hurricane Milton is expected to make landfall either tomorrow or on October 10th, which would be very early Thursday morning, as a Cat 3 or 4. And this name will probably also get retired. It is a crazy coincidence that that's happening. But yeah, it's pretty insane. Also got Brandon Kopic on Radar Omega and on YouTube right now. He's currently prepping. I'm not sure what he's doing right now, but he's currently prepping out there for eventual storm chasing tomorrow. We'll have him on our channel tomorrow, storm chasing alongside with our live coverage that we'll have. Again, this is Siesta Key, Florida, one of the other Radar Omega mesovorts. If you are a subscriber on the app, you can check these out. Again, there is a lot of debris everywhere. All that debris is from Hurricane Helene, which happened 2 weeks ago from the storm surge. And the storm surge is expected to be upwards of double, if not triple that, of Helene in this part of Florida on Wednesday and into Thursday. So, kind of crazy, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Thank you, Angel, for the $10 super chat. I have no clue. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know why they would. Can you talk about the potential weakening of the storm before landfall? Yeah. So, again, what we're expecting tomorrow is that the vertical wind shear, which is something that weakens hurricanes, will increase across the eastern Gulf of Mexico. What that means is that it should be able to rip this hurricane apart to some extent, but it will not be enough to weaken it to the point where people are hoping that it weakens to. So right now what we're thinking is that this will weaken down to, it will still be a major hurricane upon landfall tomorrow night, but it will be a weaker hurricane, not a Cat 5. We think it's going to be a high-end Cat 3 or a low-end Category 4 hurricane upon landfall somewhere around Tampa Bay. But the vertical wind shear is the biggest thing that's going to weaken it. Here's the other part of this. Let me put on the cone of uncertainty again. We'll go back here. Let me put on the cone of uncertainty again. The other thing is that we are going to be seeing an extra tropical transition begin as this moves over the state of Florida. What that means is that the intensity of this hurricane will actually still remain very strong, even through central and eastern Florida. It will still be a middle grade Category 1 hurricane by the time it exits the east coast of Florida Thursday morning. And by the way, this right now, the National Hurricane Center forecast is that this hurricane will be over land in Florida for about 12 hours. So this is 1 a.m. Thursday morning, and then this is 1 p.m. Thursday afternoon. It'll be over land for about 12 hours, producing hurricane force winds, especially in this area. So, another thing that is going to change with this forecast, if we do end up seeing a landfall right here near Sarasota, power outage potential would increase for all of this area. So power outage is more likely in Port St. Lucie, Palm Bay, Deltona, Orlando, Four Corners, Tampa, Spring Hill still. Daytona Beach as well would still have power outages, and then also north of Cape Coral and in Cape Coral. Now, the graphic that I've been showing you for power outages, I still think is very accurate, but we could see this also shift a little bit further down here to the south, and this area might just get cut off from that widespread power outage potential, which is kind of there on the north. It's just north of Orlando, kind of where I-4 and I-95 connect up there, so... But yeah, the latest track that we're currently looking at, I think, is, definitely more of a concern. It looks like a little bit further south for power outages. This is the GFS model. I don't know if they have the 18Z hasn't come out yet. Look at the NAM model. Like the NAM model, for example, still has the most significant wind on the northwest side of the hurricane, but winds are also going to stay strong even on the east side of this hurricane. So power outages will be more scattered to numerous back over in Port St. Lucie, and then Palm Bay probably going to be a bit more widespread. And on the north side of this hurricane, like Daytona Beach, Tampa, that's where we're going to be looking at the potential for widespread power outages. And again, these wind gusts that you're seeing on here, they are, in my opinion, not accurate. They are too low. So don't ignore the wind speeds. Just look at the colors, because the colors give you a better idea of where the worst wind is. And if we go over to the wind graphic here that, again, James Pettis made, check him out on Twitter. Again, this is a very accurate representation of where the worst of the wind will end up happening. So again, Category 3 plus winds here near Tampa, Category 2 plus or Category 1 plus winds from Jacksonville back through Orlando and Cape Canaveral. This could also shift further south with the recent trends that we are having, and then anywhere in the orange and yellow would be tropical storm force winds. Thank you, Frank, for the $12 super chat. Appreciate that. From Germany. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you also, WDC, for the super chat. I'm on the Space Coast in Titusville. At what point will our winds be under 45 miles per hour? You have to go back to work and activate your systems. Okay, let me give you a quick estimate on that. Probably going to be like around midnight, like Thursday night into early Friday morning. That would be like the time where the winds start to die down more. If you're right along the coastline, it'll be a little bit different. But like if you're right on the coastline, it'll be still stronger because you don't really have anything blocking the wind offshore. But if you're a little bit further inland, I think you'll be done by like 2 a.m. Friday. So it'd be like late Thursday night and early Friday morning. All right, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft just updated. It is now all the way on the southeast quadrant of Hurricane Milton. And it's going to make another fly through here soon. So we're going to wait for that data. Again, right now, the latest data from the National Hurricane, or at least from the Hurricane Hunters, is that the center of Hurricane Milton is down to 902 millibars. So this would be almost as intense as the hurricane was yesterday. which is kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie. We did think it was a possibility, but the fact of the matter is this is making another run at being an intense hurricane. Potentially one of the strongest hurricanes that we've ever seen in the Gulf of Mexico. This is already a top 5 hurricane of all time for pressure in the entire Atlantic Basin, by the way. So it's kind of crazy. Make sure you're working on your schoolwork. Ain't nobody got school in Florida this week, unless you're over in, like, I don't know, somewhere up in who knows where. Back over in, like, Destin or something. Basically, all of Central Florida has been shut down for, like, the next 48 hours. By the way, thank you to Joe C. for the $15 donation with the donation link. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Jared, also for the $10 sewer chat. Millibars are the measure of pressure. It's just one of the measures of pressure. So when we have a very low pressure, like 900 millibars, that indicates a pretty intense trough or low pressure system. In this case, this is obviously shattering records for how low pressure can even get. Yeah, Disney, again, if you're just tuning in and didn't already hear, Disney will be closed. They're closing early tomorrow at like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., depending on the park. Tomorrow, and then Thursday, they are likely to be closed all day. I don't think it's official, though, for Thursday yet. Thank you, Mark, for the super chat. The lowest theoretical possible pressure a hurricane could get. I would say like 880 or so is theoretically like the lowest we can get. We've seen low pressure systems get down to around 880, 875 before. Anything lower is almost mathematically impossible. I'm going to look up and see what the official statistics is on that. I think Patricia was the lowest in the Eastern Atlantic. So that does not tell me pressure. All right. $870 millibars, typhoon tip. That's what I saw in chat. That would probably be right around the mathematical limit. Yeah, 870 is the lowest we've ever had. Most intense at landfall was 884 millibars, Cyclone Winston in Fiji back in 2016. 1979 was when we had the most intense hurricane in general with the lowest central pressure at 870 millibars. That was Typhoon Tip in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. 1979. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. All right, thank you, Gary, for the super chat. Fort White, Florida. Let me look up where Fort White is. I think Fort White, Florida, I wouldn't expect much damage up there. Maybe some branches down, some small trees, but I wouldn't expect anything like major up there. I wouldn't really anticipate like major damage. All right. What's the latest track? Pull that up. Thank you, Sean, also for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. This is the latest cone of uncertainty. So again, the latest track and the latest thinking is that this hurricane will be making landfall just around or south of Tampa Bay. They have shifted the center of this a bit further south, and a lot of the computer models have also been shifting the eye of where this will go a little bit further south. So we think the landfall will be somewhere here just to the south of Tampa, somewhere near Sarasota, or even near the Bradenton area of Florida. With that said, again, it could still shift over the next 24 hours. All right, we have a breaking update. Yeah, we have a breaking update. National Hurricane Center has just updated the latest. So this is a special update from the National Hurricane Center. This is an important update on the intensity. Hurricane Milton is officially down to a 905 millibar Category 5 hurricane. It's 10 millibars off. I think I said 905 millibars. 905 millibars. So this is 10 millibars off from tying Rita as the most intense hurricane ever in the Gulf of Mexico in terms of pressure. Maximum sustained winds are still at 165 miles per hour. That's new information. Again, National Hurricane Center just released a special update. This is still moving east, or east-northeast at 9 miles per hour. But they have now observed maximum sustained winds of 165 miles per hour and estimated pressure of 905 millibars. Again, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, you can see it on the middle of your screen. They are on the southeastern side now of this hurricane. They are going to loop back into the eye. So in about, I would say about 20 minutes or so, we should have more data, and we'll see if the pressure is actually increasing or decreasing. In the case it's decreasing, as in going down in number, that would mean that we are seeing an intensification process still happening. If it's increasing, this might actually be weakening a little bit. We don't really know quite yet. This is our first run through on Hurricane Milton. So again, Hurricane Hunter is currently flying through Milton as we speak, and they are obviously collecting lots and lots of data. It's pretty crucial to its intensity as of right now. Yeah, I mean, if you know any fish out here in the southern Gulf of Mexico, please give a call or text to make sure they're all right. Not sure if the Bikini Bottom's still there, but fish are going to be flying around in this hurricane. Again, this is officially a Category 5 hurricane again. This is also another crazy loop, guys. Look at this. This is just stunning. This CIRA loop here of the eye. Absolutely stunning. Thank you, Robert, for the super chat. Thank you also, Danielle, for the $10 Venmo. What am I drinking? Not an ad, by the way. That's what I'm drinking. Raspberry tea. I just texted a... Yeah, somebody texted a fish, and apparently they got some bad news. All right. Thank you, JH, by the way, for the $50 super chat. Sorry, I missed that. Put some W's in the chat for JH. Appreciate the generosity. By the way, today's stream is brought to you by Radar Omega. That is the weather app that we're currently using. If you'd like to download it, it is the top link in the description below. It's only $8.99, comes with lots of features like the live radar. There are also storm chasers inside the app. If you become a subscriber on the app, you also will get access to the satellite data that we're currently looking at, and you'll also get access to over half a dozen, which we're gonna have 10 total of these Radar Omega Mesovorts. What these are gonna basically do is that they are cameras that are live in the app, and we'll be watching these on our stream tomorrow as well, that are going to be able to depict the storm surge and as well as anything that's happening out there tomorrow at landfall. So we're going to have all sorts of cameras up and down the east coast of Florida, from about Clearwater, Florida, all the way back through Englewood in Florida, and there will be more being added here over the next few hours, but we got several different cameras out there. I'm not sure if we're going to have a bench cam. I don't know yet. Brandon Kopic said he'll try to see if he can, do it, but all those cameras are going to be accessible inside the app, so if you want to download it, it's again the top link in the description below. It's on both iOS and Android. Today's stream is also brought to you by ESP Shelters. If you need a storm shelter, especially for the potential for tornadoes tomorrow, you can get one at espshelter.com. They are very safe. They are very cheap to also install inside of your home. They're not below ground. They're above ground shelters. These are very safe, prone to EF5 type tornadoes. You can check them out at espshelter.com. We are expecting the potential for a few tornadoes tomorrow. And I do think that we'll have the potential for maybe an isolated strong tornado across parts of central and southern Florida. Notice that we have a 5% tornado risk. That's the brown shaded area along and just south of I-4. And then also north of I-4, there's a low end potential for an isolated tornado. I'm going to show you guys the future radar actually for the storms tomorrow, so you have a better idea of the timing for tornadic activity. We haven't really done that in this stream, and we haven't done it in a video, so let me do that real quick. So I know people are wondering about this tornado threat. Put some W's in the chat for Lori with the $50 Venmo. Appreciate the generosity. Thank you, Lori, for the very generous Venmo. All right, let me pull up a future radar here for... Give me 1 second. We'll pull up a future radar here for tornadic activity. Just need to get a model that's actually correct on parameterizations. Okay, the RRFS model. That one looks pretty solid right now. All right. Let's go ahead and show you the future radar for potential tornadic activity tomorrow. All right, so this is what it looks like for tomorrow. So tonight, we're going to see some of these outer bands, maybe an isolated tornado near the coastline. As we go into tomorrow morning, that'll be the beginning of the potential for a couple of tornadoes, mainly between Sarasota and just to the southeast of Cape Coral near Naples, Florida. All right, so that's where we're going to be watching for the potential for a couple of tornadoes during the late morning and early afternoon. As we go into the afternoon hours, we're going to start to see these storms move inland. And again, any of these storms that are able to stay discrete, they will have the potential for producing an isolated tornado. I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado, so if you're anywhere in central and southern Florida, have a tornado action plan in place and have multiple ways to receive alerts. As we go into 3 to 4 o'clock, another outer band will be entering into the west side of Florida, so Cape Coral to Sarasota. More tornado warnings are probably going to be being issued around that time by 3 to 4 o'clock tomorrow. And then as we get closer to 5, 6, 7 o'clock, the tornado threat will continue across central and southern Florida, mainly just south of Orlando. By about 8 to 9 o'clock, the threat for tornadoes will continue with these outer bands. We even could see the potential for a small-scale tornado outbreak tomorrow here in central and southern Florida. So again, make sure you have a tornado action plan ready to go. By around midnight to 1 in the morning, this threat will continue, and we'll eventually start to see a lower threat overnight. By Thursday morning, maybe 1 or 2 more tornadoes will be possible in southeastern Florida or even on the east coast of Florida. So again, good idea. If you want a storm shelter in the future, espshelter.com, second to top link in the description below is where you can check those out. I appreciate them also sponsoring today's live stream. All right, back to questions and also back to updates, because we're going to have some more updates coming in here soon. This is also another graphic I'm going to show you guys. This is from the Radar Omega app. This is their latest post for watches and warnings across the state of Florida. They have storm surge warnings in the blue. The purple or magenta is hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings in the yellow, and storm surge warnings in the blue, which I just said. So congratulations, you heard that twice. What does ESP stand for? Emergency Security Preparedness. That's what it stands for. Thank you, Astro, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Don't get in a tornado shelter on the bench. Yeah, we got the bench right here. Max velocity engraved bench. Pretty sick. All right. Where's the sub count? Bottom right of your screen. We just hit 470,000 subscribers. We're now 30,000 subscribers from 500,000. Which is kind of crazy, not gonna lie. I have to get a new camera on I-75. The traffic is racing now. Look at the traffic. It is going. Everybody's moving now. Everybody's moving. I have to get a new camera. Surprise, that's further north of Tampa, by the way, that camera, bottom of your screen. Thank you, Lisa, also for the super chat, or Licia. Thank you also, Lindsay, for the super chat. For the golfing trip when it's all done. I don't know if I'm going golfing, like on a trip, but I will be golfing. I don't know how much of a trip it'll actually be, though. How will south of Tampa be? South of Tampa is going to get the worst impacts. Yeah, south of Tampa, you gotta, be prepared at this point. Storm surge 10 to 15 feet. Hurricane force winds, perhaps over 120 miles per hour. There's a lot of concerns for Tampa tomorrow. And even just south of Tampa will be hit the hardest, I think. Thank you also, Tori Wilson, for the $50 super chat. Somebody was in the chat for Tori. I don't know if I missed that, but I appreciate it. If I miss any super chats, it's because the chat is very fast. All right, we're going to go and explore for a new bottom camera. I don't know if we have to explore for very long. I think I already found one. I do want some diversity in terms of the cameras, because they're both on I-75 for the record. But if we go back over to the map here, this is the two areas that we're looking at. So the one that you were looking at the bottom right of your screen, that one there, that's down here just to the southeast of Cape Coral on I-75 going towards Miami. And then the other one's back over north of the Villages near Ocala. So they're in completely different areas. Thank you, Leslie, for the super chat. Thank you also, Sure, for the $25 super chat. Hey, hopefully they stay safe in Sarasota. Sarasota, again, I think Sarasota is the town that's going to be hit the hardest tomorrow. The current track that we are expecting, I do think Sarasota is at risk for the greatest impacts. So, hopefully Sarasota, you know, isn't as bad as what it looks like it will be. But again, hurricane hunters are going to be flying through the hurricane once again in the next 20 minutes or so. Right now they're moving, looks like north. They're going to fly in from the northeast by the looks of it. So we should have more data here in a little bit. And we'll see if this hurricane is intensifying still or if it is weakening. By the looks of it, it looks like it's intensifying. From what we've been seeing on infrared imagery and satellite imagery, the eye continues to look very symmetrical. The entire hurricane itself looks very symmetrical. I mean, again, this looks like one of the craziest hurricanes that we've ever seen, so. Thank you, Ditch, also for the $10 super chat. Do you think it's going to head more south? At this point, I mean, I kind of was leaning yesterday more towards a landfall in or just north of Tampa. I'm now leaning more towards a landfall in or south of Tampa. You know, the models have shifted, and also this hurricane has been moving further east than what we initially thought. Like, over the last 12 hours, this has actually moved further east of this cone of uncertainty. They had to adjust it because it's been going so far east. So with that said, I do think that a landfall just south of Tampa does appear more likely. What does that mean? That means Tampa Bay is going to see, if that happens, that means Tampa Bay would see less storm surge, but it would still be significant, perhaps even catastrophic for some areas. And then further south in areas like Cape Coral and the Charlotte Harbor, this would be a more catastrophic situation for those areas when it comes to storm surge. So, pretty much bad either way, but Tampa, if we had this making landfall north of Tampa, which is still possible, but if it were to make landfall north of Tampa, all that water would surge into the bay, and that would essentially be our worst case scenario. And that's what we're hoping does not happen. But we're also not hoping that, you know, Charlotte Harbor gets hammered. It's both places, but Tampa would be by far way more catastrophic. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. Should I drive to Fort Lauderdale tomorrow morning? 3-hour drive? I mean, if you are thinking about evacuating, I would err it on the safe side of caution. I would evacuate. Thank you, Andrew, for the $20 super sticker. Appreciate that. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat as well. Over-under on finding manatees inside Raymond James Stadium in Tampa on Friday. Where is Raymond James Stadium? Is that prone to flooding? Oh, that's where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play. I think they actually might actually get storm surge there. That's like pretty close to the coast. I know it's in Tampa, by the way. I know the stadium's in Tampa. I just didn't know where it was corresponding to the ocean. Hey, Debbie, appreciate that. And if we see sharks in the water tomorrow on the roads in Florida, you know this is a historic hurricane. The second you see a shark on a roadway in Florida, that's the second that you know that this named storm will be retired. Ryan Hall was shouting you out about earlier partnership with the All Squad. Oh, did he really? That's pretty lit. Yeah, we don't have an overlay yet. We're supposed to have an overlay. I'll have to ask Riley about when I'm getting my overlay. For those that are wondering, by the way, this is not an ad. I do not get paid to say this, but we are partnered with the Y'all Squad. And if you want to contribute to Hurricane Milton relief efforts, there is a link in the description to donate to. I will also post a link in the chat. Our goal this time around is $50,000. It's actually not in the description. Never mind. I have to add that. Our goal this time around, though, is $50,000. We raised $25,000 for Hurricane Milton, or sorry, Hurricane Helene. We raised $25,000 for relief efforts. This time around, we're hoping to raise double that for this hurricane that's going to be making landfall in Florida tomorrow night. I am putting the link in the description as we speak. I'll put it in the chat, too, if you want to donate. All right, the link has been spammed 55 times. Hopefully you catch it if you want to donate. But the All Squad is already planning on being out in Florida on Friday. I actually might be helping out. I'm not sure yet, but I might be helping out. Depends on what I'm actually looking at in terms of my situation, too, because I don't know if I'll have power or not. Yeah, I don't know what's going to be happening Thursday. Depends on what happens Thursday. If I have no power or anything like that, or trees are down, flooding, whatever it might be, I might not be helping at all. But if I am in a good situation, I'll be able to help out this weekend. So it'll be pretty lit. Thank you, Marianne, for the $10 super sticker. Yeah, so far, I mean, we've barely advertised this, but we've already raised $1,000. Thank you to anybody that's donated to the nonprofit, the All Squad. And we're hoping to, again, hit that goal. After this coverage tomorrow is all over, we'll be contributing ourselves to the Y'all Squad goal here at the Max Velocity channel. We contributed over $1,000 to Hurricane Helene when that happened. We crossed several different charities, and we'll probably be doing the same for this one. So excited about that. Excited to help people out that do get impacted. I think, again, this will be devastating in its own way. I think really the biggest thing when it comes to this hurricane is going to be the, storm surge along the coastal regions. Like, there's a lot of people that live here. So I think the biggest thing when it comes to the coastal regions here between Cape Coral and Tampa is going to be storm surge. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest impacts that we see out of this hurricane. And I think most of the damage that we see out of this hurricane is going to come from that. And then on the flip side, obviously, the wind across much of central, western, and eastern Florida, I think that's also going to be the second greatest impact to what we're going to see, because almost everybody, I think, is going to be without power, or at least many people will be without power in central Florida. And then also flooding north of the eye, like between Daytona Beach and Tampa. Those areas, I think, are going to be dealing with the potential for significant flooding, perhaps even as bad as Ian. So, this is a pretty significant situation, I think. And we've talked a lot about the impacts already, just to kind of graze through, I should say, a little bit here. Again, the maximum winds that we're expecting in Florida are over Category 3 strength just west of Orlando near Tampa. And then also across areas in the red, like the east coast of Florida near Jacksonville, back through Daytona Beach and Orlando. That is also where we're going to be talking about hurricane-force winds that can knock down trees, power lines, knock out power for days. We could see power out for weeks in the purple. It's very possible. And then even in the orange areas, we could also see the potential for power outages in those areas. So, I mean, all around, this is a very significant situation. And then widespread power outages are expected in the pink, which is Tampa, Orlando, Cape Canaveral, Daytona Beach, all of those areas, looking at the potential for widespread power outages out of Hurricane Milton. And then the flooding concern as of right now is the greatest just off to the north and along I-4. So that's where we're expecting the potential for 10 to 15 inches of rainfall. Some isolated locations will also pick up as much as 20 inches of rainfall. So it is a, again, significant situation right now for when it comes to rain, wind, storm surge, basically everything. We do have a new 18Z model run coming in with the GFS. Let's see what this one shows. The latest GFS model run has it making landfall right in Tampa Bay. The 12Z, for reference, which was 6 hours ago, showed a landfall also right in Tampa. So the GFS model is locked in right now on a landfall in Tampa Bay tomorrow, which would mean that Tampa would still see significant storm surge, but the worst of it would be hitting Sarasota back through Cape Coral. Thank you, RJ, for the $10 super chat. Also, thank you, Jackson, for the super chat. When will this hit? Right now, we're looking at a landfall sometime around 2 a.m. or so, Thursday. So this would make landfall technically on October 10th, which would be the same day of landfall as Hurricane Michael. So, kind of crazy. Alright, let's, the mic stand, you gotta figure it out. Sounds like a drum. Thank you. I am, pretty aware. I'm aware that the mic stand that I got is from like, it's from Amazon, but it's like a really poorly built mic stand. It literally screeches anytime I hit it. It's pretty bad. All right, the Hurricane Hunters are flying through the hurricane. I'm going to take it off, though, on here. We'll put it back on once they are making their next fly through into the eye. So we'll just keep it like that for now. And we'll be answering questions. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. Again, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. The subscriber counter is at the bottom right of your screen. We are on our way right now. We're almost 29,000 subscribers away from 300K, or 500K. Thank you, B. Smith, for the super chat. Looks like an army of waterspouts are heading towards the southwestern side of Florida. Well, we're going to check that out instead of being on that loop. Let's check it out. An army of waterspouts, you say? Oh, yeah, we have an army of waterspouts. These are fish nados. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8. All the white circles that I just drew west of the Keys, those are all probably fish nados. There was a fish nado spotted near Marco Island, actually, earlier today. I do think tomorrow is actually going to be a more elevated risk for tornadoes. I wouldn't be surprised if they add a enhanced risk for tornadoes tomorrow. I do think that there is a potential for a small-scale tornado outbreak before landfall. Yeah, I mean, this right here for sure is a fish nado. This is actually not even that far away from a couple of these islands. I don't know what's on the Dry Tortugas near Loggerhead Key. So they might be able to see this. This is not far away from that area. This is, that's about 16 miles to the northwest. Might be a large wedge like waterspout. It's very possible. Thank you, Roy, for the $10 super chat. Thank you also to Joshua for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, right now across most of Florida, just some light showers. I mean, nothing really crazy. I don't expect much of a tornado threat inland. I mean, again, the tornado threat today is mostly going to be in this area. So, not very far inland. Mostly just southwest Florida. Should I evacuate Bowling Green, Kentucky? No. Can you explain the plane? It's a aircraft that the Hurricane Hunters have. I'm not sure what your question really is. Okay, this is cool. Let me take off the track here. This is a loop of the eye of this hurricane on a 3D imagery. I'll try to go back 100 frames here. We're going to go back over the last 2 hours. This is kind of crazy looking. Look at that eye. I think the eye, honestly, right now is heading more south of the initial path that we had, so. I still think landfall is going to be just south of Tampa or in Tampa Bay tomorrow. This is still a relatively small hurricane. Yes, Cody. It is still a relatively small hurricane. It's going to grow in size tomorrow. But it is very small right now still. Look at the size of it compared to the entire Atlantic, or entire Gulf of Mexico. It is a very small hurricane. But tomorrow, we're going to get vertical wind shear, and it's going to become extra tropical sometime tomorrow night, and that's going to kind of stretch this thing out, and it's going to become a much larger hurricane in nature. So vertical wind shear, if we have enough vertical wind shear, it can basically hurt a hurricane from intensifying, and in a lot of cases it'll weaken a hurricane. So what we're going to have again over in the eastern Gulf of Mexico tomorrow is increasing vertical wind shear here. So what that's going to eventually lead to is an environment where this hurricane is expected to weaken, but again, it's not going to be enough to weaken this by that much. Like, it's going to weaken some, but like not dramatically. So we're expecting still a high-end Cat 3 hurricane or even a low-end Category 4 hurricane to make landfall somewhere around Tampa Bay tomorrow, regardless of the weakening. It will weaken enough to not be a Cat 5, I think, but like beyond that, it's still going to be a pretty intense hurricane. Hey, Danielle also for the super chat. Appreciate it. Got my brother out of Asheville and he's staying in Daytona Beach with my family. Are they safe and how will Milton affect that area? So Daytona Beach as of right now, you're not really looking at like major impacts, but the biggest thing that we'll be watching for anywhere over here on the east coast of Florida, especially I think Daytona Beach, will be flooding. I think there's a good chance for 10 to 15 inches of rain Wednesday into Thursday. In addition to that, storm surge on Thursday near the coastline, and hurricane force winds will be possible overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning. So I think if you're in that area, you know, it depends on your situation. If you're in a mobile home, probably not safe. If you are along the coastline, also not safe. But and also if you're in an RV, it's not safe either. But if you are, you know, inland in like a 2-story building or whatever it might be, then I think you'll be all right. Thank you, Lean, also for the super chat. Guys, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft is not seating. Oh my goodness. Bruh, you people. The amount of misinformation on the internet is so incredibly high. It is really bad. Especially with this hurricane. Actually, look at this. You can actually see the lightning strikes being detected inside of Hurricane Milton right now. Brian said in the chat, why am I still here? I don't know. Any like for the super chat? You might be here for the cheese curds, honestly. This hurricane is back to a Category 5. Yeah, it was a Category 4 when we first went live, but it's back to Category 5 intensity. This is my vacation. Somebody said that the other day in chat. I don't know if it was you. Somebody said in the chat, they're like, going to this live stream is my vacation. I'm like, alrighty. Cool. Congratulations. Are the birds still trapped? I don't know if we've had any reports. Does anybody know? Are the birds still inside the eye? Yesterday, if you guys were tuning in, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft was reporting birds that were flying inside of the eye of Hurricane Milton. Not sure if they're still there. Again, this is where the Hurricane Hunters are currently. They're about 5 or 10 minutes from taking a turn towards the eye, so we'll have more data. I've been saying 20 minutes for the last like 30 minutes, but we'll probably have new data here in the next like 25 minutes. It's hard to predict how fast these planes go sometimes. Thank you, customer service, for the super chat. I'm not doing zip codes, but in Miami, I don't expect really any major flooding. Thank you, Derek, for the super chat. Northern Louisiana? This is not going towards northern Louisiana. I'm guessing that's what that abbreviation means. Thank you, Island, also for the $10 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Is there a Cat 6 hurricane? There's no such thing as a Category 6 hurricane. There probably will never be such thing as one. Just complicates the categories too much. This is the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. I'm going to show you guys this. As a reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's free to do. It's the red button. We're currently 100 subscribers from 471,000. Make sure to like the stream as well. We're like 50 likes away from 10,000. Helps get this out to more people that need information about Hurricane Milton. This is the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, again, on the east-northeast side of the hurricane. This is the pressure that they measured, 908 millibars. Again, they're going to fly through again here in a few minutes. And we'll get more data in terms of the pressure, if it's increasing or decreasing, and the wind speeds. So we'll have some more info here pretty soon. Florida Panthers are still playing their opening night tonight in Miami. Wonder how many people are going to go. A lot of people are evacuating to Miami, so I think it's going to be probably pretty poppin'. I think it's going to be pretty popular there. Probably going to be a lot of people going to that game. And like literally everybody is either like at this point, if you're evacuating, and for those that have evacuated, you can see at the bottom right of your screen too, all those people going towards like Port St. Lucie and Miami. Almost everybody is evacuating to either southern Florida or evacuating to northern Florida or into Georgia. So like People are evacuating, like, far. The Hurricane Hunter airplane, they basically observe data inside the hurricane. That's essentially what they do. They're there to observe data. So what they've already done is observe plenty of data. Again, the wind speeds that we've seen, flight level wind speeds, were near 185 miles per hour. Again, inside the hurricane, at the surface, it's near 165. And then the pressure was at 902, 903 when they measured it. So that's what they're doing inside the hurricane. And that's why they fly into these hurricanes. These aircraft are built to be able to go through hurricanes. And if we didn't have this data, we wouldn't really know the intensity of hurricanes. You know, planes are very important for knowing what the intensity of a hurricane is. In terms of pressure and wind speed, it's a very important tool. They have lots of tools on those aircrafts. Thank you, Justice. Appreciate that. Second plane is about to enter the eye. Oh yeah, they have a second plane. Let me pull that one up. Oh, look at this. We got our second plane going right into the eye right now. Another aircraft coming in. We're gonna get some more data here in a moment. It's flying in pretty quickly. So again, Hurricane Hunter aircraft on the northeast side of Hurricane Milton. We'll have some new data in just a moment. Kurt, I think Sarasota is going to be hit really hard. Again, I think Sarasota is going to be like the most impacted area out of this hurricane. In terms of storm surge, hurricane force winds, and those are the main two impacts there. That must be a bumpy flight. Yeah, hurricane hunters are going through tons of turbulence. They're going through a load of turbulence. Here's that airplane. Corresponding to the eye. Get some new data in just a moment. Hey, Pamela for the super chat. All right, while we wait for that data, we'll just go back to here until that new data comes in. Thank you, N12 for the super chat. Do you think the storm will continue this southern movement or wobble back up to the north with a more of movement toward the Tampa Bay area? It's gonna wiggle wobble a lot. Wiggle wobble. It's gonna wobble a lot, right? It's gonna keep wobbling over the next like 24 hours. It's gonna keep going back and forth. But it is starting to turn more to the northeast. It is starting to make that turn now. So again, it's hard to predict those wobbles that we see with hurricanes, but I do think the nature of this is it will end up making landfall in or just south of Tampa Bay tomorrow, bearing any major changes. Again, we could still see a major change tonight. It's very possible. So there is always a chance that something changes last second. It's very rare that we see any major changes with direction last second, but it is a possibility. All right, while the hurricane hunters are about to fly into the eye of this hurricane, we are going to change that bottom camera yet again. We're going to go back down to southern Florida on that camera. Southern Florida has the absolute worst traffic going right now. It is horrendous. It is literally bumper to bumper for the longest stretch ever. So we are going to check that out. That's another view right there. That is that's unbelievable. Just one more view of the traffic on I-75 going eastbound. Campgrounds are open and free at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Yeah, I've heard that a couple times. If you need a place to go, they are apparently open for free at the Atlanta Motor Speedway if you are evacuating. This is the spread of models for Hurricane Milton. And again, notice almost all of them have been going south. See this? Like almost every model, there's only a few outliers that go north of Tampa now. There's only one that goes south of Cape Coral, but they're all in this consensus of making landfall. just south of Tampa. Thank you, Jetter, for the super chat. What's going on, Brandon? Welcome back. Are we getting that bench camera? Is it happening? Here's the other thing, by the way. Look at this. Look at where the eye is corresponding to the tracks that these initialized on. The eye is on the southern side of the of this, like, all these lines, basically different models showing the direction of this hurricane. So it does appear as if this could make a much further southern landfall than what was initially thought 24 hours ago or even this morning. Vince and Don decided to get up early and didn't leave Corey and I any probes, so I was not control the bench camera. That is so unfortunate. Unfortunate. Get some sad faces in the chat for no bench camera. Yeah, so a lot of those models, again, were putting landfall, like, in this area, which would be much worst case scenario for Cape Coral. It's heartbreaking, really. I know, it's really heartbreaking. No bench camera tomorrow. By the way, Brandon, do you see this traffic at the bottom right? It's literally insane. That's like near Naples going towards Fort Lauderdale. It is absolutely bonkers. The amount of evacuations that are happening down there right now is, I think, higher than what we were seeing, or at least higher than yesterday, I think, down there. Like, it's literally bumper to bumper for 30 plus miles. A rubber duck for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that, thank you. Is this going south of Tampa? It looks like it. All the model data that we've been getting recently, a lot of models are putting this south of Tampa. There's only a couple that go into Tampa. And even then, there's only like one or two that even go north of Tampa. That's crazy, Brandon. Yeah, gas is... There's not a whole lot of gas left right now. Gas, I heard like 20% of the state of Florida does not... Like, 20% of the gas stations don't have gas in Florida right now. It's a very high number. Like, they're running out of gas in a lot of places. Any new info from the planes? We are going to have info in about 2 minutes. 2 or 3 minutes for this aircraft that's flying through right now. Thank you, Valerie, for the $10 super chat. Should Stuart be concerned? Asked Lori in the chat. I don't think Stuart's going to see a whole lot. Mostly just tropical storm force winds. Maybe low-end hurricane force winds. I think power outages will be your biggest concern. Thank you, Kat, for becoming a member. The time of have an electric car. That did not make sense, but I don't know if an electric car is much better, to be honest. Because if there's power outages, I don't know how you're going to charge. Thank you, thank you, Batman, for the super chat. Gas is still $1.29 at Taco Bell. Wow. Throwing shade at Taco Bell. Yeah, Brandon, it is. I know. This is going to be a rough next 24 to 36 hours. No other way to put it. Thank you, Kala, for the super chat as well. I mean, for the record, gas is cheaper at Taco Bell. Alright, they just flew through the hurricane. Let's see what the data looks like. Alright, so this is the latest data from the hurricane hunters that just flew through the eye of Hurricane Milton. No, like, major wind speeds that I'm seeing. 136 knots at flight level, again, translating to the ground. It's probably around the intensity that we're still talking about. The pressure is at 903 to 904 millibars, which is right around where it was when the other plane flew through. So right now, the pressure and intensity might be at a stalemate, but we'll have another fly through from another aircraft here in like 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll see if anything changes there. But They're also measuring 146 knots, which is around 165 mile to 170 mile per hour winds on the south side of the eye. Yeah, so they're measuring still very high wind speeds. This is obviously an intense Category 5. But the pressure measured was 904, 905 for millibars. Guys, I'm just letting you know, if you super chat, you're not guaranteed to get an answer to a question. There's, again, 35,000 of you. There's one of me. I answer super chats sometimes as a priority, but it doesn't mean I'm answering every single one. I cannot. I'm one person. I'm trying to answer a both mix of chat and super chats. So I know some of you might not even be able to afford to donate, so I'm trying to do a mix of both. Can you show I-95 traffic? Yeah, we can pull up the traffic map. This is what the traffic map looks like across Florida right now. Doesn't really highlight really well where the traffic is. Looks like I-95 is pretty chill though. I-95 is pretty chill up and down the East Coast. I-75 has a lot of problems, mainly back over near Ocala and Willwood. And then back over here, east of Naples. That's where we have the most traffic, really. It's on I-75, east of Naples. That's where the worst of the traffic is right now. Thank you, Valerie, for the super chat. I know, no bench cams, unfortunate. Shout out to Karis with the 5 gifted members. If you got a gifted membership, make sure to thank Karis in the chat. Thank you, John, for the super chat. If you want to donate to the relief fund, the link is in the description. Again, it's the Y'all Squad. The link is in the description if you want to donate to the non-profit for relief efforts. But I will be sure to put that money towards our donation here at the channel. Thank you, Hunter, for the super chat. My grandma is stuck in Punta Gorda on... Okay, please don't... Guys, again, I'm going to say this a few times probably tonight, but do not put your road or address or anything like that. Like, if you have a specific question about, like, storm surge or something like that that involves a road, you should look at the National Hurricane Center Storm Inundation Map. It's for your safety, all right? Please do not put roadways that you live on or somebody else lives on in the chat. It is for your safety. But for Punta Gorda, I think the biggest concern will be storm surge. And all that water is going to just filter into the bay here. So Punta Gorda, I think, will be impacted when it comes to storm surge. I don't know where your grandmother lives, but if she is near the coastline and is in the potential for storm surge, then you know she should evacuate. She should not be there. She's in that storm surge area, because I do think Punta Gorda and like anywhere in this harbor is going to see significant storm surge tomorrow. So all that water is just going to filter into the bay, and it's going to be hard for that to come out. Again, the current forecast for storm surge now is 8 to 12 feet down there. This is the latest National Hurricane Center forecast for storm surge as of 5 p.m. I'm sorry, that's not 5 p.m. This is 5 p.m. 8 to 12 feet of storm surge for Charlotte Harbor. That's near Bonita Beach and Englewood. And then 10 to 15 feet for anywhere near Tampa Bay through Englewood. New reports say it's a Category 3 to 4 hurricane. I don't know what reports you're getting that from. I don't know, maybe TikTok? This is definitely a Category 5 hurricane, there's no doubt. Even with the latest data that we're currently getting, this is 100% still a Cat 5. $500K this week? We're currently 29,000 subscribers from 500K. It is possible. The counter will be at the bottom right of your screen whenever we're on this graphic. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll be answering some of those. Will I be live tomorrow for Landfall? We will. Yeah, again, if you want to have Landfall coverage, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free to do. Click the bell icon so you're notified with that stream as well. We will be live tomorrow for Landfall coverage. So, we'll be live tomorrow for Hurricane Milton making landfall, and we'll be live before it. We'll be live during it. Try to be live also a little bit after that landfall, as long as I have power. The current thinking right now is that tomorrow will be live tomorrow morning at some point, and then we'll have another live stream for landfall, which will probably start a little bit later in the day. So that's the current thinking. We will be live, though, for the majority of tomorrow. We'll have more live coverage, I think, tomorrow for this hurricane compared to what we had with Helene. So we're going to have a pretty elongated amount of coverage tomorrow. And then tonight, I'm not sure what we're doing yet tonight. We might do this as one stream, or we might split it into two. I do need to eat dinner at some point, but we'll be live here at least until 7 Eastern, like tonight. If we do split the stream up, we'll go live again at 8:30 or 8 o'clock, and then go live until like midnight or something. So we might split these streams up into 2, just so I can eat. But if not, this also could be a longer live stream. We also could still be live until like 11. Just depends on how hungry I am, basically. Hey, Robert for the super chat. Freedom Factory has staging for anyone that will be working on disaster relief. Thank you for the report. Those traffic cameras, by the way, the reason why I'm showing you them is because those are evacuations that are happening. That is not because of a car accident or anything. That's on I-75 eastbound, just to the east of Naples. Anything good for dinner? No. No. Dinner over the next 24 to 36 hours is going to be a lot of just random stuff. I had Chick-fil-A for lunch today, but like, I mean, after that, I'm not getting anything special. Like, best meal will probably be McDonald's through landfall. Just quick stuff. Dinner will be hurricane snacks. That's pretty much what it's going to be. I mean, I'm basically just going to have hurricane snacks here for landfall tomorrow. Mostly what we're going to be having. It'll be interesting, that's for sure. Imagine having diarrhea in that traffic. All right, that's an interesting message. Cat 6s don't exist for the 95th time this week. Category 6 hurricane is not a thing. Am I in a safe place? No. we're gonna have live coverage tomorrow, and I mean, no, not really. I'll be fine for coverage, I think, but there's a good chance I will not have power at all on Thursday. I don't think anybody in Central or Western Florida is gonna have power on Thursday. Like, again, when I've been showing you guys this power outage map, like, I truly think that this is pretty darn accurate for what it's gonna look like by Thursday on poweroutage.us. Like, there are gonna be power outages pretty much all across Eastern, Western, and Central Florida. So, I honestly think we're going to have a big problem when it comes to power outages. But the good news is that we do have 2 power banks. We got one for the computer, and we also got one for the router. So, in case there are power flashes, we'll be at least live for a bonus 10 minutes, or potentially longer if it's just a power flash. But so we'll probably be fine again, I think, through landfall. So, hey, Doyle for the super chat. Thank you also, Michael, for the $10 super chat. Safe in an RV in Moorhaven. Where's Moorhaven? I honestly would not stay there. Personally, it's, again, more up to you, but you're kind of on the cusp, I'd say, of having the potential there for, like, you know, some problems, because if for whatever reason the wind is strong enough, which it could be, again, the eye right now has been the track of this hurricane's been trending more to the south recently. If it does end up making landfall just south of Tampa, I do think that hurricane force winds are possible there, and that could be a problem for RVs. Again, I would play it safe. If you are considering evacuating, if you don't know if you should evacuate, I would evacuate. I would play it on the safe side. Better be safe than sorry. Again, today's your last day. Wednesday morning's like last second evacuations, but I wouldn't even risk going Wednesday morning, to be honest, because, again, traffic could be pretty bad, and, you know, getting out of Florida will be really hard to do tomorrow, I think. So, you know, if you are planning on evacuating, I would do it tonight. No later than tonight. Tomorrow morning you could still evacuate. It's just, it's a gamble. Michelle, I don't know what your first super chat was. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I can't go back up. There's just too many. If you can try to, like, at me in chat and send that question again, let me know. You don't have to super chat again. Thank you, Tina, for the super chat. Thank you also, John, for the super chat. EF5 tornadoes are way stronger when it comes to wind compared to an EF5, or sorry, compared to a Category 5 hurricane. Thank you, Michelle, for becoming a member. The further south this makes landfall, the less wind shear will affect it. That is correct, because it's going to make landfall presumably a little bit faster. This went more towards the north side of Tampa. It would battle a little bit more wind shear. I'm trying to learn. I have the cyclone port toggled on Omega. How do I find the cameras? So the mesovorts that are currently up, these, you have to be a subscriber inside the app. So that starts from $4.99 a month for these cameras. If we're talking about like the regular cyclone ports, like the storm chasers and the other cameras, you should see the icons on the map. And you can activate that with the mesovort option. Bottom left of your screen, you can kind of see it. We got the other, not the new one, but the other Hurricane Hunter aircraft is about to fly through the eye. This will update again in... Actually, this will update in a moment, so we'll see where the position of this aircraft is. So this airplane will be updating in just a moment. Port St. Lucie should be mostly tropical storm force winds, maybe low-end hurricane force winds, so power outages being the main concern. Alright, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft just updated. They are flying into the eye as we speak. The only problem being they have not flown through the eye yet, so we'll have to wait another 10 minutes for the latest pressure data and wind speed data. So they're flying through as we speak, but haven't quite gotten that data yet. Thank you, Michelle, for the gifted membership. Thank you also, David, for the super chat. Eagle Lake. I don't know if you spelled that right because it's not popping up. Eagle Lake, I do not see. Well, we'll be waiting another 9-ish minutes or so until we have that new data from the Hurricane Hunters. While we're at it, we are currently 75 subscribers away from 472,000. And if you are new to the channel, need hurricane coverage, make sure to hit the red button down below and subscribe. 471,942 right now. And we'll be live tomorrow again as well for landfall coverage, so definitely recommend that you do subscribe to the channel. Stay up to date with the latest on Hurricane Milton. We'll have lots of storm chasers and also lots of live cameras tomorrow to show you guys as well. It's going to be a very interesting day tomorrow. And we just hit 472,000. Sheesh. And bottom right of your screen will be the subscriber counter while we're on this particular scene. Why won't Milton re-strengthen after hitting Florida? Well, first off, it's going to be making landfall. So first off, just to begin with, interaction with land is going to weaken a hurricane. Second off, this is going to become extra tropical, meaning that we're going to have a jet stream and a trough connect with this low pressure system, and it's essentially going to become an extra tropical system. So we're not going to see this really intensify or re-strengthen. Huge shout out to Zero Pass for the $50 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Zero Pass. Thank you also, Cody, for the super chat. And thank you, Doyle, for the super chat as well. Florida Keys. Florida Keys will be mostly some 1 to 3 foot storm surge and some tropical storm force winds, and that's really about it. Alright, we got special marine warnings going up all over the place now. So we got several fish NATOs out there. All just to the west of the Florida Keys. All these blue boxes indicating fish nados that are potentially ongoing just to the north of Key West. So if you know any fish out here, give them a heads up. Give them a call or text. Make sure that they are in their shells. Shells away from the top of the ocean. I don't know where I'm even going with this, but... Can I fly my drone into the eye? There's actually, fun fact, there are people that are flying drones into the hurricane that are on the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. It's actually a thing that's happening. Thank you, Andrea, for becoming a member. This is our last view of satellite imagery, guys, until tomorrow. Because the sun's setting, you don't get satellite imagery like this. Look at that eye. We'll go back 100 frames so you can see the entire loop of this. This will be the last time until tomorrow that we can see the satellite. We'll be dependent mostly on infrared imagery and geocolor satellite. So look at that. Let me take off the plane. Here's the final view of the satellite for tonight. There it is. Sun's still out? It is, but the sun gets to an angle where the satellite is barely picked up. So, you won't really be able to see it after this. It's slowly but surely darker. It's just tall. It's obviously a very tall... All these storm tops around the eye are very tall, so it's going to take a little bit, but... Also see all the convection up here blowing up. You guys see that? All that convection to the north. This is the problem tomorrow. We got a lot of moisture on the northern side of the eye. That's going to penetrate more rain inland before it makes landfall for areas between Daytona Beach and Tampa. So, flooding's definitely going to become a concern. Subscribed last night due to insomnia. Alrighty. Is Mickey Mouse safe? I think he'll be alright. Mostly going to be hurricane force winds there in the Disney World area. Fun fact, by the way, I wanted to let you guys know. So yesterday, if you were watching our stream, for the first time ever, we had a 1 million view video or live stream. Our live stream last night had 1 million views. Never happened before on the channel. So to celebrate, this is shocking for those that have been here for a little bit. You might remember back in the day when we first had our first fan mail opening. I think we got shipped some max velocity underwear that somebody made, and I'm wearing those today, believe it or not. So just letting you guys know. I don't think you guys really care, but I wanted to let you know. Kind of crazy. The reason why, well, for the record, the reason why I'm even wearing them is because I actually don't have any underwear. All the underwear is now, it's now done after being in the laundry, but I had none left. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to use this. So, might be TMI, but you're welcome. I remember those? Yeah, if you might remember them. Pretty funny. Thank you, Nicholas, for the super chat. How will this hurricane compare to Ian for the Charlotte Harbor area? I think the storm surge will be probably a little bit less than Ian, but it will still be very impactful. Guys, I'm not showing you though. No, I'm not showing you. It's no shot. This is not the stream for that sort of stuff. Culver shirt? I'm not wearing my Culver shirt. No, actually, fun fact, I am wearing the Max Velocity Drunk NATO t-shirt, which you can pick that up on shopmaxvelocity.net. The link's in the description. I'm actually, another reason why I'm wearing this shirt is because I ran out of other shirts, so not a really great marketing ploy, but I don't wear this shirt in the public because I don't want people to know who I am. Good times. All right, back to questions about the hurricane. Thank you, Michelle, for becoming a member. See what I missed here. Thank you, Jason, also for the $10 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. What about Vero Beach? Vero Beach should be mostly, I'd say, high-end tropical storm force winds or low-end hurricane force winds. Huh. This is... Alright, we have history. We have history, guys. Hurricane Milton is the first hurricane ever to go below 905 millibars twice. Which is the first ever. That is actually a crazy fact. That's actually crazy. So for the record, I'm going to tell you the other three that were below 910 millibars twice. So Milton's the first ever to go below 905 millibars twice. But to go below 910 millibars twice, Hurricane Allen in 1980, Hurricane Ivan in 2004, and then obviously Hurricane Milton. And this is the first ever to go below 905 millibars twice. So that's pretty crazy. New Hurricane Hunter data will be coming in here in just a moment, within the next minute or two. So we'll see what the pressure they are measuring is at. Shout out to Eric with the $20 super chat. Citrus County impacts. I don't know where Citrus County is, but I'll figure it out. The millibar that's it currently is at is 905 millibars. I'll fix that traffic cam in a second. Citrus County, Florida. Main concern, flooding, rain, blah, blah, blah. Potential for flooding rainfall is going to be the main concern. And hurricane force winds. Those are the main two concerns. Alright, camera's fixed. Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville should be mostly high-end tropical storm force winds and then some rain, but that's the main two concerns. Storm surge along the coastline also anticipated. Thank you, Athena, for the super chat. Appreciate that. All right, let's check out the Hurricane Hunter data. That should be coming in as we speak. All right, it has. Let's see what pressure they're measuring inside of the eye. They just flew through it, and they have measured 909 millibars, 905 millibars, and 905 millibars. So several readings here of 905 millibars for pressure. So it looks like right now the intensity is basically at a stalemate. It's not really intensifying. It's not really weakening. It's kind of at a stalemate right now. It could still intensify further. It also could start weakening, but we haven't noticed any trend here as of the last 45 minutes to an hour that this is rapidly strengthening or weakening. So I guess that's at least some good news. That's not, you know, intensifying further. Waco, it's too hard to tell 2 weeks from now, but hopefully the tropics slow down. The tropics are crazy right now. Water temperatures in the Gulf are around 85 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what it looks like across the tropics right now. Obviously, we got Hurricane Milton. We got an area of development just off the coast of Florida. 20% chance of development over the next 48 hours. Hurricane Leslie, which is going up that direction. And then another area of development off the coast of Africa. And there's also a chance maybe in a week or two that we get another area of development back over here in the Western Caribbean. So that might be another problem for the United States, but too early to tell on that. I'm really hoping that this is the last hurricane that we have this year in Florida. What is going on? Why is that on top? Thank you. Whoever just pointed that out, thank you. I didn't realize that was up there. Man, my overlays like broke earlier today, so everything's been kind of messed up. Does anybody have an updated evacuation map? If you do, at me on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX. If you guys see one, I'm gonna try to show it to you guys on stream. What am I trying to do here? Take this thing off. Boom. And boom. All right. Let me see if I can find an evacuation map. If you guys see anything at me on Twitter, I'll keep a close eye on mentions. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Appreciate it. And can you explain the colors on the radar? Yeah, so what we're looking at is the infrared imagery. And essentially what this is measuring is the coldness of cloud tops. So the white colors that you're seeing, that is very cold cloud tops aloft, meaning very high clouds. And then anything in the yellow and green, those are low cloud tops. And then the white is just very low clouds. And then the black, if you ever see that, which you can kind of see that in the eye, that's like a clearing. Almost no cloud cover at all there. So it's essentially what we're looking at. Let's go over to, we'll quickly check in with Brandon Kopic. Again, he's on Radar Omega and on YouTube. He's just north of Tampa right now. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's north of Tampa. On the, in an area where a lot of people have evacuated. Near Temple Terrace.
Well, yeah.
Again, not really too busy out there. I mean, not a lot of people on the roadways. He's out and about. Yeah, you can check out Brandon Kopic on Radar Omega and on YouTube. If you want to check him out on Radar Omega, it is the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. You can download it. Tons of Storm Chasers inside the app. There will be plenty of Storm Chasers inside the app tomorrow for landfall of Hurricane Milton. Where's Storm Runner Media? I have no clue. I think they're driving right now to Tampa. I think they're just doing a little drive stream. Driving on over to Tampa. Daytona Beach. Again, Daytona Beach, the biggest concerns right now are going to be hurricane force winds. Mostly overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Potential for 10 to 15 inches of rain, so that could lead to flooding, especially in low-lying areas. And then storm surge also going to be a concern on the immediate coastline, 3 to 5 feet possible. Thank you, by the way, Matt, for the $10 super chat. What's the point of sandbags when a Cat 4 hurricane is approaching? It depends. I mean, it depends on the scenario, because, I mean, sandbags can be useful, especially for, like, weaker hurricanes. But if you're a little bit further inland, it can be very useful, because that can actually keep water out. Like, let's say you're more inland. Let's say you're, like, I don't know. Let's say we're in Fort Myers or something, and you're, like, here. I don't know. Something like that. Maybe you're prone to a few feet of storm surge, and it can actually be something that helps. It can help keep the water out and limit the damage. And that's why some of these, like, barrier islands and stuff are there, too. Those also help to prevent some storm surge. It's not usually enough, but it does help a little bit to keep things a little bit more tame. Check out some of the Radar Omega mesovorts. Again, if you're a subscriber on the Radar Omega app, you can check out all these cameras. They will be there tomorrow for landfall. So you got one camera here back over in Englewood Beach, Florida. If you look closely, there's actually a person out there right now. There have been a couple people at this beach today. Unfortunately, I don't think this beach is going to look like this tomorrow. Like, I think it's going to look a lot different when this is making landfall, and even before then. And then a little bit further up to the north in Venice, Florida. It's another live shot. Again, water's, I mean, it's very calm out there. And, you know, the hurricane is still over 400 miles southwest of Tampa. I mean, it's very calm out there. There's not really much happening. But, again, I think this is going to be looking very different tomorrow. Sand is going to probably go pretty inland. I mean, again, we're talking 8 to 12 feet of storm surge in this part of Florida. And you also got Sarasota, which Sarasota right now, I mean, again, this is all the debris you see here. That is from Hurricane Helene, a couple of weeks ago with the storm surge that brought. You can only imagine how bad this is going to look tomorrow with storm surge. Further off to the north, we also got a camera back up in Bradenton. This is an Anna Marie Island. And right now, pretty calm. I mean, this looks like a normal day, to be honest. Looks like a very normal day, but again, tomorrow it's going to look very different. We also got one just off to the west of St. Petersburg. And just very calm. Again, this is like calm before the storm. It's very calm out there. Water is barely moving. Thank you, Butterfly, for the super chat. Ocala should be mostly hurricane force winds. The other one is up in Palm Harbor, Florida. Oh, what's that? Is that a lowering? Is that a lowering right now, just off the coast? Is there a storm here? We actually might have a water spout or something right there trying to form. We got a little dangling lowering here, just off the coast of... What is this, Palm Harbor? There's a little cell here. It's a little lowering. Looks a little scuddy, but I mean, there's a possibility for water spouts. So we might be looking at something there. Maybe a little fishnado trying to develop. Can't really tell if it's rotating. It's hard to tell from this distance. There have already been water spouts today in Florida. We've already had a few. Mostly back over near, like, Marco Island. We haven't had any reported, I don't think, this far north. Upper right-hand corner of the screen? Talking about the tree? This right here is some branches. It's a tree. Unless you're talking about this, that's just a large rain shaft with this little cell that's offshore. We have yet to see a water spout on stream. We've yet to see one on stream. Maybe we'll see one tomorrow or tonight. Maybe, just maybe. You Isa for the super chat. Spring Hill should be mostly hurricane force winds and then 10 to 15 inches of rain possible. You Hansen for the super chat as well. Increasing pressure means the pressure is going up in number, and that also means that the intensity is decreasing. And that means, like, wind speeds will decrease. And then if a hurricane is decreasing with pressure, that means it's increasing in intensity. In most cases. So, again, that's pretty standard and typical. I mean, again, basically the pressure and wind speeds are usually the inverse of each other when it comes to increasing and decreasing. I'm watching it on TV. It's a W. Alright, this is definitely going to be our last view of the hurricane. Again, on satellite imagery tonight until tomorrow morning. We are very quickly losing the view of it. Again, it's becoming very dark. You can barely even see it on your screen. This is the water vapor imagery. Look at this. Water vapor imagery actually kind of looks crazy with this. And the eye is about 10 miles wide. So it is not a huge eye by any means. Not as big as Helene, but a little bit bigger than yesterday. Thank you, Todd, for the $50 Venmo. Put some W's in the chat for Todd. Appreciate the $50 Venmo. Appreciate the compliment as well. Sanford should be mostly hurricane force winds. Like, anywhere surrounding Orlando will be mostly hurricane force winds, and then the rain, including prolific rainfall and flooding, will be a big concern along I-4 and just north of I-4. So, flooding's really a big concern for, like, central and western Florida. It will not be the same, I don't think, as Ian, but it will definitely be close, because Ian was a much slower moving hurricane. This is a much faster moving hurricane, so, you know. Naples' biggest concern, I think, will be storm surge back over there near Naples and back over near the Charlotte Harbor area. Those areas are going to really have the worst threat will be storm surge down there. So yesterday it looked like Jacksonville might get hit harder. Today, at least from what we've been seeing, it doesn't look like Jacksonville get hit nearly as hard. But I still think we're at least going to be dealing with high-end tropical storm force wind gusts and then some storm surge along the coastline. The flooding rain threat does not look to really be there. It's a very close... It's either you're going to see several inches to maybe over a foot of rain to potentially almost no rain. It's going to be a very split kind of area there up near Jacksonville. Thank you, Earl, for the $20 super chat. Why are hurricanes rated on wind speed alone, not damage, and tornadoes are rated only on damage and not wind? Well, one thing is, like, a hurricane like this, you can't really rate it on damage when it's literally in the ocean. Unless you want to rate it on the fish flying or something. I mean, we could do a fish flying factor. Maybe measure the distance that a fish goes flying, the speed of it, and then determine the intensity of a hurricane. I mean, that would be like the only realistic damage that you can measure with a hurricane in the ocean. That's the main reason why. I don't really love that the EF scale is mostly just based off of damage and not wind. But, I mean, if it were me, I would rate it more off of the wind. But it's also hard to get actual wind data unless you have a radar site that is accurately measuring that wind data. So, right now, it's mostly based off damage. But you can fly a plane into a hurricane. I mean, flying a plane into a tornado is, like, almost impossible. So... Huge shout out to Cole with the $75 Venmo. Put some W's in the chat for Cole. Appreciate the generosity. Thank you. Thank you, Logan, also for the super chat. Is Tampa International Airport going to be affected by storm surge? I believe, I do think if that's right on the coastline, which I think it is, I think they are going to be dealing with some storm surge. So, yeah, I do think you'll have storm surge there. Thank you, Mars, also for the super chat. Miami should mostly just be tropical storm force wind gusts. Other than that, not expecting much. Thank you, Ellie, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Flying fish data. We should get some flying fish data inside hurricanes. Kind of crazy, not gonna lie. Max, where is Connor? Connor is in Tampa, I think. Is in Tampa. We'll have him on our stream tomorrow when we're live. Stay live until 500k. We're about 50. We're about 45 subscribers right now from 473,000. We're getting pretty close, at least to the. We're getting close to 475. I mean, you know, there is a chance realistically tonight that we could get to like 490. Because we'll do, I mean, this will probably be one stream, and then we'll do another update stream in like an hour and a half or something. So there's a chance that we could hit it later. We're 30 away. Again, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Be live again tonight and also tomorrow for landfall coverage. If every one of you in the live stream subscribes to the channel, we'll get pretty close, I think, to not even 475, but possibly up near 500. Any quick 6 p.m. updates? Not any new updates, no. I mean, there's still Hurricane Hunter aircraft flying in the hurricane. Our next, like, major update will be at 11 p.m. tonight, which will be live for that 11 p.m. update. And then, aside from that, I mean, again, there's not really any major updates happening right now. They are still flying in the hurricane. But none of them are currently passing through the eye, so we don't have any new data coming in at this exact moment, but we do have data coming in here soon. Like, probably like 30 minutes from now. It is a Category 5 hurricane. Yes, this is, again, a Category 5 hurricane. Maximum sustained winds at 165 miles per hour, and the pressure is at 905 millibars. This is the first hurricane ever to be under 905 millibars of pressure 2 separate times. Thank you, Queen, for the super chat. Main concern up in Spring Hill, again, 10 to 15 inches of rain will be possible, and then hurricane force winds. Those are the main concerns. As a reminder, today's live stream is brought to you by Radar Omega. If you need a weather app to stay ahead of Hurricane Milton, you can download it with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. There's tons of features. If you just purchase the app and get the base version, you get things like the live radar feed, you get all the watches and warnings, tons of customizability. You can watch storm chasers inside the app tomorrow, even on landfall, and you can watch Brandon Kopic right now as he preps for Hurricane Milton. You also got tons of other cameras across the southeast United States. So that's one of the great features. If you just buy the app for $8.99, that's one of the first features that you'll be able to get. But if you subscribe to the app, any tier subscription will be able to have access to the 10 different cameras that'll be up across the west coast of Florida tomorrow. Those are ranging from just south of Spring Hill back through areas near Cape Coral. And then also you'll have access to satellite imagery and tons of other cool features, including computer model data and more. You can download Radar Omega, again, on iOS and Android with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. That's the weather app that we're using. We've been using this for over a year now, and definitely recommend it. In addition to that, today's stream is brought to you by ESP Shelters. If you need a storm shelter in case there's tornadoes tomorrow, for example, again, if you need a storm shelter for tornadic activity or perhaps even other things like hurricane force winds, a storm shelter that's above ground like this is very convenient, and it's also better than a below ground shelter because those can flood very easily. So this is a kind of shelter you'd be looking for. ESPshelter.com, the second to top link in the description. Definitely recommend it. It does uphold against EF5 tornado winds, which essentially, again, is worse than a Category 5 hurricane would even ever do. So it is very safe, especially during hurricanes and tornadoes. And again, we are expecting a few tornadoes tomorrow across Florida. So if you want to check out their shelters, it is espshelter.com. The link's also down in the description. But again, as of right now, we do have a 5% tornado risk from I-4 in southbound. Again, we are expecting at least a few tornadoes tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 10% tornado risk added into the outlook tomorrow morning. But with that said, we are expecting at least a few tornadoes tomorrow. Thank you, Vlad, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you also, Blake, for the super chat, and Morgan for the super chat. Appreciate it. We are currently sitting almost 24 hours from landfall. We are approximately 30 hours from landfall in Florida for Hurricane Milton. We are getting closer and closer to landfall. And if you want to stay ahead of the hurricane as well, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook at MaxVelocityWX. The links are in the description. We're going to be posting updates on those platforms over the next 30 hours and even beyond that. And also, if you want to join our Discord server, join our community, the link is also in the description. When is the hurricane supposed to weaken? We are expecting it to weaken tomorrow during the afternoon hours. Weakening is expected during the afternoon hours tomorrow. No problem, Ferry. Is the gray snow? Yeah, it's snowing right now around the eye of this hurricane. You got it. It's snowing. 10 feet of snow coming to Florida tomorrow. Imagine. Imagine that was the headline. Snowicane? That's a snowicane coming to Florida. We just texted the fish and let them know what's up. That's a good idea. Good thinking for anybody that's texting the fish out there. Good thing. Good stuff. Is it getting stronger? It's kind of at a stalemate right now. It's a Cat 5. Hasn't really intensified or weakened over the last, like, hour or two. So. Thank you, Paige, for the super chat. But yeah, it's pretty much at the same intensity as before. It could change tonight. Again, this could intensify a little bit further tonight. It also could weaken a little bit more tonight. Like, there's a chance a couple things can happen. So, you know, we're not really at a point, at least for right now, that we can definitely say this is weakening or strengthening. I'll have more information again later this evening, but next update from the National Hurricane Center is at 8 o'clock, which is an hour from now. And then the next big update is at 11 o'clock. We will be live for the 11 o'clock update for sure. We'll probably be live for the 8 p.m. update too. Again, we're probably going to split this into 2 streams though, because I have to eat. Which we'll be here for a little bit longer though. But as a reminder, if you are new to the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon as well so you're notified. Does the eye ever blink? It did blink, technically. I don't have a 24-hour loop. We have a 6-hour loop. The 6-hour loop now shows that eye the entire time, but it kind of blinked yesterday, or even this morning. It went away and it came back. Where's that traffic coming from? That is going eastbound on I-75 east of Naples. Mile marker 98. Looks like there's either an accident or something happened in there. I can't even tell. There's like can't tell if that's a police officer or if that's like another emergency vehicle. Let me find mile marker 98. We'll full screen it. $89. Where's 98? Right here. I can't tell what's happening. Thank you, Stacy, for becoming a member. Thank you, Pettis, for the $5 super chat. Just so the chat knows this is happening, because Max ate Culver's cheese curds a few days ago. You're not wrong. Thank you, T-Rex, for the super chat. Did Florida open southbound lanes to northbound traffic? I don't think so. I haven't seen anything about that. It looks like cop lights. You can't really tell what's happening there. I mean, the traffic's literally not moving. Like, this is not... none of this traffic is moving. It's so slow. The amount of people evacuating eastbound right now, and I don't even think the shoulder... I don't think they've allowed the shoulder to be open. Oh, there goes another police officer. Now we got 2. Thank you, Craig, for becoming a member. Thank you, Scarlet, for the super chat. I will show the cone of uncertainty again in a moment. Thank you, Gamer, for the super chat. It's not heading straight towards Miami. I cannot tell what's going on. It's too dark. Thank you, Nancy, for the $20 super chat. I know, it's pretty crazy. It is crazy, the amount of growth that's happened. It is pretty bonkers, not gonna lie. This video is obviously fake. This video that we're looking at is fake. Brother, this is a live camera. You can go look for... You can look at it yourself if you would like. I mean, this is a live camera. It's on the FL 511 F. Traffic cams. Mile marker 98. I just AI generated this, obviously. I mean, like, you can only tell because of how low the pixel quality is. Thank you, Scott, for the super chat. Port St. Lucie should be mostly high-end tropical storm force winds, low-end category 1 winds. Be the main concern. Got another police officer coming in the bottom right of your screen. A lot of officers. Can't really tell what's going on. I don't know if there was an accident or something like that, but they're like all in the same place. Thank you, Lydia, for the super chat. Just a little reminder to download iOS 18 on iPhone 14 and later for emergency satellite phone calling and text messages. I don't know what that means, but I guess that's a reminder. Thank you, Cookie, for the $10 super chat. SpongeBob SquarePants and Patrick have been notified. It's great. At least we're getting them some knowledge here, because Fishnadoes are a possibility. First one was an ambulance, and the other one was a police car. There might be an accident then somewhere. Can't really tell. Multi-car accident on the shoulder is what somebody just said in the chat. By the way, for those that are wondering, we are going to have limited edition / limited release 500,000 subscriber merch whenever we hit it. Here's the plan. So for the shirts that we're doing for it, the shirts for the 500k merch, those will not be signed, but they will be exclusive and limited edition. The hats will be signed, because it's harder to sign a bunch of different size shirts and ship them. It's just harder in nature. So the hats will be the only thing that actually gets signed by me. So if you are wondering about that for the merch whenever that happens, then that's the current plan. Otherwise, it would just be way too hard to organize everything. So, but the hats will not release. If we do hit 500k tomorrow, we're not going to release the hats probably for like a week or two because I have to actually ship them. Have not had a chance to do that. Will you sign my bald head? What? You'd have signed boxers for 500k. Oh my goodness. What will the effects be for Bradenton, Florida? Bradenton's going to have some of the worst impacts. Again, storm surge, big concern. Hurricane force winds is also a big concern. I can't imagine being in this traffic. Like, we're looking at bumper-to-bumper traffic for 20, 30 miles. I cannot imagine being in this traffic. I would lose my mind. Millibars are at 905 right now. 905. Thank you, Amy, for the $10 super chat. Appreciating boring Pittsburgh weather right now. I would agree with that. I would rather be up in Pittsburgh with some boring weather. Thank you, Walk, for the super chat. Inland and Clearwater, hurricane force winds the biggest concern. And then storm surge still possible, depending on where you are. Where's mile marker 98? I'll show you guys on the map. It's right here. It's just off to the east of this turn near Naples on I-75. I also have traffic further north. I think it's been getting better, though. Like, the traffic that's been ongoing in parts of northern Florida has been getting better. With that said, it's pretty bad over here in Jacksonville, it looks like. Check out this camera, if it loads. Maybe not. There looks like there's some red right here, so we got a little bit of traffic. I think this is typical, though, for Jacksonville. I could be wrong. This looks like typical traffic. That's what it looks like in Jacksonville. Is that a Topgolf right there? I think we're looking at a Topgolf. Thank you, Adam, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. I go buy that Topgolf when I go to Florida. It's pretty lit. Landfall should be around midnight tomorrow, so it's gonna be a late landfall, it looks like. So we're gonna have a late stream, it looks like, tomorrow night for sure. Yeah, do this. Thank you, Mike, also for the $10 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. All right. Thank you, Sam, also for the super chat. Hurricanes are in the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean, but typhoons are something that happens on the Western Pacific, like back over in like Japan and stuff like that. Just a different name. Typhoons are very common, by the way. They actually happen very often back over in the other side of the world. This traffic is horrible. Basically, California on the daily. Yeah, the traffic is really bad right now. It's going to stay like that for a while. So it's going to be like that for the next several hours. And when we do our next live update tonight, we're going to talk a lot more about that. It's going to be a pretty big issue for quite some time. So, all right. Well, again, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We're currently 100 subscribers from 474,000. Click the bell icon so you're notified with our next live stream and video. Again, this will conclude this live update. We're going to do another live update in like 50 minutes. The reason why we're splitting into two is because I want to eat, and then we'll be live for like 4 or 5 hours after that probably. So we'll have a late stream tonight. Just going to take a quick like 50-minute break. You'll be redirected on this stream to our new live stream, so stay here. We're going to update you with the latest data, latest forecasts, all that sort of stuff, if there's any changes to the models and stuff like that. So again, give me like 50 minutes. We'll be back in like just under an hour probably. Gonna quickly eat, and then we'll be back, and we'll have another live stream. Thank you, Brenny, for the super chat as well. Appreciate it. Thank you to anybody that super chatted or became a member. Thank you for watching. If you watched as well today, for you that are still here, thank you for watching. Thank you to anybody that subscribed as well. We'll be back in about an hour for another live update, and we'll be live for about 4 or 5 hours. We're just splitting it into two to make things easier for me. We've been live for 3 hours, and so we'll have more information then. 11 p.m. is the big update, so if you want to come here for the big update, that's 11 p.m. That's when they, usually change the graphics for Storm Surge and, the cone of uncertainty and all that. So set an alarm for like 10:50 or 10:40, so, you're here for that if you don't want to be here for the beginning of it. But thank you, F, also for becoming a member. All right, so we'll see you guys again, probably about an hour. Stay tuned. You'll be redirected to the new live stream. All right, we'll see you guys all again soon.